Shalom. Open your Bible. Not feelings. Not tradition. Precept upon precept. Line upon line. Bar for bar. You quoting opinions, I'm quoting a word. Isaiah 28, did you read what you heard? Precept upon precept, line upon line. If it ain't in the book, then it ain't divine. 2 Timothy say, rightly divide. So why you twisting scriptures to fit your pride? We ain't here to argue emotional fame. We here for the covenant law in the name. Deuteronomy 28 still apply. Tell me who fit the curses, don't lie. Scatter the brother, we waking up now. Nation of kings, we remembering how. Not church, all the Torah precision. Give me the verse, not your television. If it not written, I'm cutting it off. Revelation 22, don't have to take off. Bar for bar, bring your scripture out of it. Ain't in the word what you talking about. Bar for bar, chapter and verse. Truth don't bend and it don't rehearse. Bar for bar. Lord, my heart, we don't neglect. Bar for bar, all praise to Yah in His holy name. Lord, my heart, we don't neglect. Bar for bar, all praise to Yah in His holy name. You say the Lord done passed away. Matthew 5, what did He say? Not one jot nor tittle fall till heaven and earth that covers it all. You screaming grace but ignoring commands. James 2 tell you faith need hands. We ain't saved by works alone, but faith without works is a lifeless tone. Peter said judgment first in the house, so we correcting the nation now. Iron sharpening iron with heat. Proverbs 27 make it complete. We not debating for cloud of views. We here for the sheep that's needing the truth. Ezekiel 3, blood on your head if I don't want you what y'all said. Bring the scripture. Chapter.
If it's true, it stands. If it's not, it falls.
Bar for bar. Open the scroll, truth hit deep when it pierced the soul. Stand and contend, Jude 1-3, fight to the end. Open the scroll, truth hit deep when it pierced the soul. Stand and contend, Jude 1-3, fight to the end. Yeah. First, let the room stay still. Friday night, let the truth talk real. Sons of thunder in the air that way. Not for sure, this Lord is faith. I learned the hard way, a crown never fit a man right. That's why I wear truth loose and let the Most High shine bright. See the block taught hunger, but the word taught aim. How to survive the smoke and still protect your name. A lot of men want power, but they really want praise. That's a dangerous drug in a room full of pain. Me, I'd rather walk calm with the fire tucked in, like a psalm in a black coat, winter on my skin. Friday night class, feel the pressure get still, like the whole room know when the bars get real. Brothers came in with the week on their back. Now the law hit clean and it's straight in at your overall. Let the room lock in. Sons of thunder. Let the class begin. I'm not impressed by a man if the shine need witnesses. A weak soul love mirrors, a strong one build discipline. That's why the lines hit low, but they stay in your ribs. Like truth don't yell much when they know what it is. And the Most High all through it, not dropped it for fashion. Not a token little mention, but the root of the action. What's a smooth beat worth if the source ain't there? Just a clean dark room full of expensive air. Sons of thunder, that sound got weight in it. Not hype for the crowd, got real life faith in it. That's men trying to grow with the word in their chest, truly trying to lead and correct what's left. Turn up the flesh, I get the glory. Truth in the room, I tell that story. I wanna beat that sound like midnight on clean rims. Soul sample, low drums knocking like deep sins. Piano lean left, bassline talk slick. Something that feel like the truth in the black whip. It's for the brothers still fighting the smoke in their lungs. Still praying for peace while they carrying sons. Still trying to be better than the week they had. Still trying to stand tall when the pressure go bad. So don't make this big just to sound important. Make it feel lived and polished. Like Yah in the room in the city outside. Like wisdom got dressed and decided to ride. Yeah, first. Truth next. Sons of thunder. That's respect. Y'all first. Y'all first. Let the whole place rise. Friday night fire with the truth in our eyes. Sons of thunder, let the whole room know. We stand on the word and we move in the glow. We came through the week, now the camp stands strong. Built by the truth, let the weak stand on. This ain't for show, this a people with aim. Law in the heart, we stand in the name. Stand in the name. Let the whole room answer. Children of Israel, built through the pressure. Stand in the name. Let the whole camp speak. All pray, yeah, that's the power we keep. Stand in the name, let the whole earth hear it. Truth in the chest, let the Most High steer it. Stand in the name, let the whole thing ring. Friday night class, let the whole room sing. I learned the hard way, flesh can't lead right. That's why I keep the Most High in my sight. World teach pride, but the Lord teach measure. How to stay firm when the days bring pressure. Brothers in the room with the weak on they back. Still standing tall, still keeping intact. Still trying to lead with the truth in their chest. Still trying to build and correct what's left. And that's why this sound got weight in it. Not hype for a crowd, got faith in it. Not built on men, let the order stay clear. Honor in rank, but the throne stay there. Stand in the name, let the whole room answer. Children of Israel, built through the pressure. Stand in the name, let the whole camp speak. All praise, yeah, that's the power we keep. Stand in the name, let the whole earth hear it. Truth in the chest, let the Most High steer it. Stand in the name, let the whole thing ring. Friday night class, let the whole room sing. No throne for flesh, yeah. Y'all get the glory, yeah. Truth in the room. Now tell that story, hey. This for the elders that held that line. This for the young men learning in time. This for the sisters that walk with grace. This for the children that know their place. This for a nation remembering breath. This for dry bones that rise from death. This for the remnant that still stand firm. Still seeking wisdom and seeking to learn. So let the drums hit low and the whole room move. Let the words ring clear with a righteous groove. Sons of thunder, let the whole camp know. The Most High reign and the truth still go. Stand in the name, let the whole room answer. Children of Israel, built through the pressure. Stand in the name, let the whole camp speak. All praise, yeah, that's the power we keep. Stand in the name, let the whole earth hear it. Truth in the chest, let the Most High steer it. Stand in the name, let the whole thing ring. Friday night class, let the whole room sing. God first, truth next. Sons of thunder, that's respect.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. We keep this. Yeah. Yeah. We keep this feast where the Lord draws near, where the past still breathes and the truth rings clear. 11 bread, lamb, and bitter herbs on the plate.
Passover 2026. Hey, be here. Zephaniah 2:1. Gather together, O nation not desired. It's nothing more beautiful than to gather with your brothers, sisters. We all got the same mind, same heart. We're going to love on each other. We're going to get some good word. Then we're going to get some good food. Hey, be here next year, 2027. Shalom.
Still love self, but still hate truth. But still fear man more than fear what's true. And Christ in the meaning, he the King of Kings, the unblemished lamb, the true offering. So we keep this feast with a humble mind, asking y'all purge what was left behind.
we keepin' Passover.
With the blood in view,
Sons of thunder,
trying to be made new.
pillars of rest,
Holding peace in place
and mercy still moving.
through the house by grace. Yeah.
We have to take the royalhood back. That's why we're here. transformation starts with the transformation of the people. And the transformation of the people starts with you.
We can't forget the reason why we fell, but the Lord will still break what our own will build, still bring all men low to their face.
You gotta stop sinning. The brother told you earlier, if you came in here the same sins that you had last year, okay, you're not getting no ground. Okay? You gotta repent. Alright? Move on and say, get ready for the next battle. Satan ain't gonna leave you alone. The dragon is wrong. Alright? For those that keep the commandments of God.
Sons of thunder,
Trying to be made new,
pillars of rest,
holding peace in place
and mercy still moving.
through the house by grace. Brotherhood is more.
These are the instructions from a father to a son in Iraq. So he loved us enough now to keep it a secret for him and his boys. He taught it to us all. That's love. That's what we gotta do. We gotta stop this whole, I love Israel, but Israel is my camp. My love is reserved. My love ain't reserved for just SOT. I don't care what camp you're in. You an Israelite, what's up? You hungry?
Same God, same mercy, same word, still true. And when we rise from the table, let it live in the walk, in the way that we build, in the way that we talk. Cause the feast ain't full if it ain't in a song. And gotta live in the soul when the days move on.
As we sit here together to reenact this Last Supper that we about to do, that's what y'all excited for, Con? We about to reenact the Last Supper and give our reverence to Yahweh. We're not doing the Last. Y'all think we're doing the Last Supper because we keep the commandments perfect? And we actually follow the law the way the Israelites was doing it in the BC days? That was the thing? No. We do these things to the best of our ability. Earnest. With all our whole soul, our whole heart, and our whole mind. That is the best of your ability.
Beard Icon. Elevate your beard experience. Beard Icon provides luxury beard care products for the distinguished gentleman. Have you been searching for the perfect grooming kit to complete your beard routine? Well, look no further. Featuring a balm, beard wash, conditioner, and 100% natural brush. And we can't forget the beard oil, packed with the essential ingredients guaranteed to give your beard the shine and luster you've been looking for. Get your luxury beard care kit while supplies last. It's going fast. Everybody wants one. And yes, I mean everyone. Order yours today. Don't wait. Use special code SOT to get 10% off your entire order. Beard Icon. Elevate your beard experience.
I hope y'all like that. That was Supplication by Roy the Chef. It's dangerous out here. I hope you guys make it home safe.
Yo, check it out. You ain't worried about that.
Yo, what was that about? Don't worry about it. You wouldn't understand.
Younger brothers, they're not here. And then I start asking the Most High, why? How come I'm the only one out of my whole family that you didn't take me? And then it just came to me. He said he was saving me for a purpose. And so that's my reflection on it. And I hope some of you take this to heart. You know, you're going through your lives, things get hard for you. But you got to remember that the Most High is running the show. You do what he say, you can expect great things to come. So that's my reflection. I hope is, you know, a lot of you take this to heart. When things go bad, just think of, man, it ain't gonna be bad like this all the time. Because we're his chosen children, and he works mysteriously. And you know, we can't figure it out, but that's how it is with the Most High. He ain't gonna tell you what he gonna do. He just do it. You pray and you ask for stuff. Hopefully you ask for stuff that's not vain. Like, hey, I like some hair. You know, that's vanity, really. You know, I'm all right. But you know, that's my reflection. I hope you take this to heart. So with that, I'm gonna give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Shalom. Y'all take it easy.
Hey, shalom, 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 Yasha Allah, Shah Shabbat. Water for tuning to another Bar4Bar. Right, we got a good one for y'all today. Y'all see the title, The Israelite Sects in the Days of Christ. We're going to give y'all some very good historical, scriptural. I'm talking about a little bit of everything to help you understand what's going on in the New Testament. So for this lesson, you're going to need your notepad. We're going to be looking at different historian, scholarly sources. You're gonna need everything you can, right, to really understand and unpack this lesson, right? And after this lesson today, it should allow you to have a better understanding of what's transpiring or what's going on in the New Testament. A lot of times, especially our Christian brothers, they're looking at the New Testament in a vacuum, right? Not understanding the captivities that transpired, not understanding the Greek captivity at all, not understanding, you know, even the different sects that we're going to talk about. Some of the sects that are not even mentioned in the Bible, right? Not understanding 70 AD, not understanding the Roman captivity, right? Not understanding the Old Testament at all. Right, so this lesson is very important for the understanding of what was happening during the New Testament. When Christ was walking around, what was the doctrines on the earth? What did this group actually believe? What did that group actually believe? Why did they question Christ like this? You're actually going to find out even about some of Paul's letters. Why he's saying certain things, because what does Paul come from? A Pharisee background. Right? So we're going to dive into this thing. We're going to get a few announcements out of the way first. Right? Got to get a few announcements out of the way. Let's start with this. Right? It's not the season, it's the mindset. This has to continue. We're not in this season mind state. It's this season. We didn't have no feast days for the last three months. So I was in that season. Now Tabernacles and Day of Atonement is coming up. You in that season. No, you have to be continually in this Israelite mindset. If you paid attention to the lessons that happened with the general in the Adawan 2 nights ago, you understand what's going on, right? These nations don't love us. However, we're teaching our children not to love each other as far as different Israelite groups. And that's going to be the conclusion of this lesson. So the mindset has to be unity. I'm gonna give y'all a part of the lesson before we get into it. Think about when Christ came. You had all these different sects. Christ came when Israel was divided. Right? Christ came when Israel was divided. You're telling me, us, with all this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, We're going to allow the Hamashiach to come back with a nation that's still divided into camps. Why? We have all this wisdom now. Let me get this up. We have all this wisdom now. We have all the breakdowns. We got all the knowledge. We got the internet. We got the resources. And we're going to allow Christ to come back into a nation that has no unity. That's our plan. Think about what I'm saying. Christ is going to come back to a nation that's still divided. Why? Why? Why are we doing that? Pride. 2,000 years ago, we was divided. So we haven't learned nothing in 2,000 years. We haven't learned nothing in that 2,000 year span. Come on now. We have to do better. I ain't saying we got to be buddies. I didn't say that. But there has to be, we got to be cordial on every level. We got to be able to have conversations. It don't got to be about doctrine, but about the nation. We got to be, me and the general was talking this week, like, there's not an Israelite grocery store where I can go into, it ain't no pork in here. It's straight, it's kosher. I mean, it's everything you want in this store. It ain't no pork, no shrimp. All the labels are. You don't gotta. You walk into this store, you don't have to check one label because you know what time it is. Why don't we have that? Fresh produce, brothers and sisters is making. Matter of fact, you a farmer, you a rancher, you bring your produce. What does that do? Create jobs. How does the produce? You got the people that's handling the produce. Well, how does the produce get to the store? You need truck drivers. Who is the truck drivers? Israelite truck drivers. Then they get a little bit bigger. We expanded. Now we got merch in there. Now it's like the corner store. Now you used to go to the corner store. You go get a fresh white tee. Now they got them in the. Now they got them in the back with fringes on it. White tee, fresh with fringes on it. No label, no name. Got a dress in there, regular plain dress, modest, fringes on them. Think about that in this world. Am I saying brothers aren't doing great things? Of course, through all out the camps, brothers are doing tremendous things. Mm-hmm. But that needs to be a priority. And you're going to see why in this lesson. You're going to see why. You're going to see why in this lesson. Also, if you want to join the camp, make sure you send an email to sotisraelites@gmail.com. If you diligent and want to do the work in your own city, and you put brotherhood at the forefront of this walk, right? And with brotherhood comes sisterhood. And with the sisters, we have the pillars of rest. If you want to become a pillars of rest and help the body move forward as an Israelite princess, send an email to pillarsofrest@gmail.com. Right, we got the calendar. You should already have the calendar. Let me move the comments out of the way because a lot of feast days are coming up. Right, we got the new moon coming up on the 12th, and then after that, the next new moon is going to be Feast of Blown Trumpets, September 10th. And we got Day of Atonement on the 19th, and then Tabernacles from September 24th to the 30th. You should already be RSVPing. All right, so they got the t-shirts in the back with the 100% linen, all colors. They keep it simple for you. They don't got the blue shirt with the gold fringes. Every shirt got color on color. So it's plain. It's just, orange shirt got orange fringes. White shirt got white fringes. So you can rock it how you want to rock it. Mm-hmm. We need that, man. We need that. If you haven't already, you tripping. If you haven't got the SOT Sons of Thunder Patreon lined up, you missing out. Captain Corner, feast days, behind the scene resources, exclusive camps, debate, tribal fitness, pillars of rest. If you haven't already, make sure you go tap into the Patreon, patreon.com/SOT Israelites. Make sure you spell it right. All right. And then last but not least, we got to get this. This is the foundation of a nation. as we get into this lesson, you're going to see our people didn't have the nation at the forefront. They had their doctrine at the forefront. They had political games at the forefront. Who's right? Who's wrong? Yes, we want to be accurate. But if you really break down what most Israelites teach, 99% of them teach about the same thing. Might be a hiccup on multiple wives. It might be a hiccup on, regeneration or not, the deity of Christ, pre-existing Christ or not. Little hiccups, right? But the foundation of a nation, the core, is all of us together. So it must start with prayer, staying rooted in the Most High throughout daily devotion, number one. Then there has to be a community purpose. I'm gonna say that again, not a camp purpose, community purpose. Living and working together with shared value, vision, and responsibilities while walking in divine calling with clarity and strength. That's the community purpose. Meaning we walk after what Sarah said. It's a shame not to salute a brother. It's a shame not to salute a sister. And that also comes with the established code, living by righteous principles that guide every choice. And then our mission is to uplift, unite, and walk in righteousness together in this life and in the next. Because I don't want to just see my camp in the kingdom. I want to see all the brothers and sisters and children in Yahushua. Lord willing, we make it there. Right? So that's the foundation of a nation. We're going to get into this lesson unless brothers got anything else. Brothers got anything else? All right, let's do it.
No.
Let me know if y'all can see this. Let me know if y'all can see this. We had to make this lesson a PowerPoint presentation. Can everybody see that? Can the chat see that? Can the brothers on the screen see that? Nakawasha, can you see that? Is it big enough?
Yes.
All right. So the title, the Israelite sects in the days of Christ. We got the Pharisees, Sadducees, and the Essenes. And we will speak on additional groups, but these were pretty much the main ones in the time of Christ. There are other groups that came about. There are other sects that we also can mention, but these are when scholars talk about these are the main ones, right? And then obviously you got the temple, right, that Solomon built, right? And all Jake and Eve, man, we in there, man. That's what we're looking forward to. An even more glorious one with Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. They don't have no issues, no problems, no nothing. Okay. Let's get into it. How did Israel become divided? We must start here. We must start here. How did Israel become divided? Right? 586 BC, first temple destroyed. 2 Kings 25, 8 through 10. Let's read that. Get some understanding. Let's start there. See our first scripture.
Salakia.
Bring it out.
This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 25, starting at verse 8.
Come on.
Sorry, I'm here. This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 25, and verse 8. And in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem. And he burnt the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem, and every great man's house burnt he with fire. And all the army of the Chaldees that were with the captain of the guard break down the walls of Jerusalem round about.
So that's where this is gonna start to unfold. Right? At first, we had all our kings. You had some righteous from David, had a slip up. Solomon, you had Josiah, you had some of the righteous kings. King Asa, but then you had a lot of our kings fall. And they stayed in the wickedness of their fathers. And then you have Solomon's fall, which ultimately caused the split of the kingdom. So now we have a southern kingdom and a northern kingdom. The northern kingdom gets taken away by Assyria before this. But the temple being destroyed is the ultimate disrespect because they burned our house. They ravished our women. You understand? The temple fell, no place of worship. They took Zedekiah, plucked his eyes out, unalived his children and wives. You got to know your history.
That's right.
You have to know your history. That's 586 BC. Then in 539 BC, Babylon falls to Cyrus. So Babylon falls to the Persians and Medes. That's Ezra 1 through 4. Let's read this.
This is the book of Ezra, chapter 1, starting at verse 1. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom and put it also in writing, saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord God of heaven had given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he had charged me to build him a house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is there among you of all his people? His God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Lord God of Israel.
So Babylon falls to the Persians and Medes. Cyrus is raised up, right, as a king that the Most High is going to use as a puppet to help Israel rebuild the temple. He's going to send them away and rebuild the temple. When you look at history, Cyrus wasn't only doing that to Israelite, he was doing that to a lot of other nations too. Whoever the Babylonians destroyed and took their cities, Cyrus allowed them, not all of them, but some of them, to go back and rebuild. Right? And then we got 516 BC, the second temple era. Right? You got to go into this history. You got to go and read First Esdras chapter 4, where Zerubbabel is pleading, right, to the king to remember what Cyrus said so he can build the temple. That's the whole point. You know where, I don't know if the chat remembers. The whole point of which one is the strongest, the wine, the king, right, or the truth. The whole point of that winning, that was Zerubbabel that won that. I gotta go back and read that. And then the king asked Zerubbabel, what do you want? Guess what he said? Not to have the greatest camp, not to have his men the best. Fulfill what Cyrus said. Allow me and my nation to go back and rebuild the second temple. So Zerubbabel had the nationalistic mindset. Ezra had that. Nehemiah had that. Right? Give me that Ezra 6 and 14. Got to go through the history first.
It's the book of Ezra, chapter 6, starting at verse 14. And the elders of the Jews builded, and they prospered through the prophesying of Haggai the prophet, and Zechariah the son of Iddo. And they builded and finished it according to the commandment of the God of Israel, and according to the commandment of Cyrus and Darius and Artaxerxes, king of Persia. And this house was finished on the 3rd day of the month Adar, which was in the 6th of the year, Shalakia, which was in the 6th year of the reign of Darius the king.
That's right. But then you gotta, so now let's go to Haggai, because he mentioned Haggai, right? You gotta build a case. We're building upon the case right now. Let's go to Haggai 2. Go to Haggai 2. Let's start at 1. Because you see Haggai, you got Zerubbabel in the same time period. Let's start at 1. Haggai 2 and verse 1.
This is the book of Haggai, chapter 2, beginning at verse 1. In the 7th month, in the 21st day of the month, came the word of the Lord to the prophet Haggai, saying, Speak now to Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and to Joshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest, and to the residue of the people, saying,
Go ahead.
Who is left among you that saw this house in her first glory? And how do you see it now? Is it not in your eyes in comparison of it as nothing?
Hey, read that again.
This is the book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 3. Who is left among you that saw this house in her first glory?
So think about that. Haggai is asking the people after the second temple is built, who's seen it? So what does that have to tell you? From the Babylonian captivity to the rebuilding of the second temple, there had to be what? Some people still alive, probably some of the the eldest people, the elderly rather, probably. Right? Read on. What do they say, y'all? Come on, read on.
And how do you see it now? Is it not in your eyes in comparison of it as nothing?
Right, now watch this. Verse 9.
The glory of this latter house.
Like you keep reading.
Verse 9 or verse 4?
Verse 5, verse 4.
Kind of one. Yet now be strong, O Zerubbabel, saith the Lord, and be strong, O Joshua, son of Josedek, high priest, and be strong, all ye people of the land, saith the Lord, and work. For I am with you, saith the Lord of hosts. According to the word that I covenanted with you when ye came out of Egypt, so my spirit remaineth among you. Fear ye not. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, yet once, it is a little while, and I will shake the heavens and the earth and the sea and the dry land, and I will shake all nations, and the desire of all nations shall come. And I will fill this house with glory, saith the Lord of hosts.
Come on.
The silver is mine, and the gold is mine, saith the Lord of hosts. The glory of this latter house shall be greater than the former,
right?
Saith the Lord of hosts.
So there you have what Haggai is prophesying about with Zerubbabel. But you got to remember in Ezra too, they also said it's not like the same. They said it's not like the former. They actually cried because they got to see the glory of Solomon's temple. And then this latter house, it was not the same. But Most High has a prophecy. Right, let's keep going in the time period. 332 BC, the Greeks conquer Israel. Very important history. The Hellenization period, the Greek captivity, that is completely missed. You got to read the Apocrypha to understand that. And then you have 167 to 160 BC, the Maccabean revolt. You're going to get that from 1 Maccabees 1 through 4. Right? And then you have what? 150 BC. This is where most scholars in history says the major sects start to appear. We're going to talk about them, right? Then you got 63 BC. Rome conquers Israel. And then you have AD 27 to 30, circa, right? The ministry of Christ, roughly. So all these dates are pretty much approximately, but that's the time period you need to understand the New Testament. You need to know the backstory to understand the testament that you're in with Christ. Because all of that changed the shape of Israel, the Hellenization period. pushed Greek language, culture, education. Customs were challenged. Traditional Israelite life. So when you brought the Greek captivity, it challenged everything. There was no more, we keep the laws at the temple, we do this, no. Now the Greeks coming, y'all not going to be able to do that no more. Don't circumcise your children. Matter of fact, that altar, we're going to sacrifice swine on that. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
With this split became what? Do we give in to the Greeks, or do we fight and continue to worship Yahweh? This is where you're going to get doctrinal disputes. Israelites started disagreeing on the law, tradition, priesthood, resurrection, purity, and temple worship. And then the political disputes happen. Should Israel cooperate with foreign rules or separate from them or even fight? Well, shout out to the Maccabees in 167 to 160 BC. They was willing to fight.
Mm-hmm.
So with all that, you have one nation but different answers. By the time of Christ, different Israelite movements had developed competing ideas about how Israel should remain faithful to God. Get the next one.
Salaki.
Go ahead.
Just back on that last slide. I mean, you see how just from historically, how the Most High, when we walk with the Most High, we had order, we had structure. But when we broke the commandments, confusion came in. This is why, Paul is heavy when he says, man, God is not the author of confusion. So you see all of the confusion from one captivity to the next, to the next, to the next, that caused so much division, so much so that even these same points are still today. And it's doing this study, man. I pray, brothers and sisters, man, you got your pad and your pens out, because doing this study, I mean, for us, I don't think we've been on the phone so much, throughout the camp as we have been this week. I mean, it has been, it's been, an eye opener when you really start to understand these biblical truths and how things came about, and how captivity from captivity now shapes the mindset and the thought process of everybody that reads one book, that reads one law. So when you have all of these different folks that ask, man, why y'all so divided? Why is there so many Israelite camps? Well, this is why.
Yeah.
This is a contributing factor.
Traditions, man.
As to why.
That's right.
And Salakia, just to double down and give a biblical example, real quick, I'm gonna get 2 Maccabees 6 and 6, and then if one more brother could read Acts chapter 16, verse 20 and 21.
Salakia.
Go ahead.
This is the book of 2 Maccabees chapter 6, starting at verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
So you see, during that time, that time in which the Greeks conquered us, oh my goodness. I mean, it changed the entire context of the scriptures after that, literally everything. So, because remember,
did he freeze?
He froze.
Yeah, I think he froze.
Yeah, but that verse alone leads us right into the next slide, because that aspect of captivity changed the entire way we worship. Because we had to then choose death or keep the commandment. Yeah. And in that notion, that means death for your children, your family. So you could see why certain choices was possibly made. You got the woman with the 7 sons, you got Eleazar, right? The women that hang the babies around their neck, they chose, hey, we rather do it this way. And you got others, right, that chose, hey, we'll assimilate. And we'll be a part of these Greek games and exercises and the little hats. And then that was all. Go ahead, Cap.
My bad, there's a delay, y'all know. And then jump down to verse 6 to explain this point. Verse 9.
Kind of the one. It's the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6, continuing in verse 9. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery.
So you seen just it showing like they were pressing this, and if the verse before is saying how this it was a decree put forth in all the heathen cities, and so each city is trying to implement this new rule and this new sense of identity, which completely is a paradigm shift for us as Israelites. Because one of the key differences between the Greeks and, like, for instance, the Persians, one of the things that we pointed out is how, what did the Persians do? They allowed you to still rebuild your temple, maintain a sense of culture and identity within yourself, although you were under their subjection. However, Esau said no. He put a new thing on the earth. You are no longer your ethnic group. You're now Greek. Or, okay, your ethnic group is a subculture of this larger identity, which is Greek, which is Roman, et cetera, and your entire lifestyle has to be in line with that identity more than your to them what is now your secondary identity. So this is a new thing. You couldn't move like that. Give me that in Acts to see how this is now played out years later, because like how the brother said, the captivity that you're in is going to absolutely influence your interpretation of the law in the scriptures, and then your actual application of said interpretation. Go ahead.
Another one. This is the book of Acts, chapter 16 and verse 1.
No, 19, 20, and 21.
So that's it.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 19, starting at verse 20.
No. 16 verses 19, 20, and 21.
Shalakia. This is the book of Acts, chapter 16, starting at verse 19. And when her master saw that the hope of their gains was gone, they caught Paul and Silas and drew them into the marketplace unto the rulers.
So you see, during this time, what's happening is Paul now being post-Pharisee mindset. Now he's teaching Christianity, he's teaching thus saith the Lord, and he's pushing Christ, right? So seeing that it would be slightly different than his traditional Pharisee doctrine, he was called out in the middle of the place of concourse in the marketplace, right? Let's see what they said. Go ahead.
And brought them to the magistrates, saying, these men, being Jews, do exceedingly trouble our city.
Saying, hey, these Jews over here, they're messing it up. You know, this is a Greek town. This is a time where we really big on Hellenistic practices. They're messing it up, right? Go ahead.
And teach customs which are not lawful for us to receive, neither to observe, being Romans.
See, they're saying, yes, we might be Israelites, but because we are Roman citizens, it is not lawful for us to practice this way.
Yeah.
You know, had they been citizens from somewhere else, they might have gotten away with practicing certain ways. And it might have been something else that they weren't allowed to do. But this is just a live example showing that where you grow up at is absolutely going to influence how you interpret and are able to practice the scriptures. Now, anybody in that area, you might end up being a ABC sect just because that's how you are allowed to practice.
Yeah, that's how you was raised.
Perfect. I'm done.
Excellent point. That brings us right here. The clash of the Israelites and the Greeks, right? After Alexander the Great, Greek influence spread throughout Judea. Greek language and education, Greek custom and institution, pressure to assimilate, division between traditionalists and Hellenizers, right? First Maccabees 1:11 said, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen. One of the worst things we can do is to make a covenant with the heathen. And then Antiochus in 167 BC, the crisis explodes, right? This is what Aharon was talking about. He permitted traditional Israelite practice, profaned the temple, interfered with sacrifices, ordered practices contrary to the law. So he wouldn't allow us to keep no laws. That's why the scriptures say when we sin, that's when you attack God's people. When there is no sin amongst them, leave them alone.
Yeah.
But in our sin, this happens. First Maccabees 1:44-5. The king commands that they should forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days. And then you have our great brothers of the Maccabees, they rise up and revolt. Matthias begins to revolt. Judas Maccabee leads the resistance. Israelites resent against the Seleucid rule and Israelite suppression. What does that sound like today? That's the mindset we gotta have. Right? The lessons that we're doing, the teachings that's going on in the streets, the YouTube lessons, being on every platform, right? We're letting the world know that we resist the suppression of the Israelites. We tired of that. And we're not going to stand for it. We're going to speak on it. And then Matthias says in First Maccabees 2:27, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. And that's what we're telling the people in the street. If you understand what we teach and you believe that we the Israelites, the children of God, you got to be zealous for this law, maintain it, right? Maintain the covenant and follow it. Follow after us. That's why I say we have one of the most important jobs on the planet. Our job is to turn the hearts of the wicked unto Christ.
That's right.
So they can choose life and not death anymore. Right? Let's keep going. So here's where a lot of history is going to come from. Israelite major schools emerge. We have to introduce Flavius Josephus, right? Because we're going to get a lot of information from him. He's going to start to break down who these sects are outside of the New Testament. So the New Testament tells us who these people are, right? But Josephus goes a little bit more into detail as far as a historian, not scripture, his history, right? Of what they believe, what they taught, how they lived amongst each other, right? And their doctrines. So he's a historian, a priest, and they say he was born around 37 AD. He says this, now at this time, there were three sects among the Jews. And here they are. You have the Pharisees, you have the Sadducees, and you have the Essenes. A lot of people for the Essenes put Christ and John the Baptist into the Essene category. You might have heard that, right? You can't confirm that.
Yeah.
You cannot confirm that, right? We'll start with the Essenes real quick. We'll go backwards, right? There's separation. They practice separation. They practice purity and communal life. So that's why people would put John the Baptist and Christ into that, because John the Baptist was separate. He wore a plain garment, right? He ate locusts with honey. This is kind of a similar lifestyle to the Essenes. They kept it simple, and all they want to do is worship God and practice their rituals and purities. Then you have the Sadducees, priests, right? They made up basically the temple. We're going to get more on it. And they had the voice of the rich and people of money. But there's also one thing they also believed in: no resurrection. You understand that from the book of Matthew and the book of Luke. But we're going to dive deeper into why they teach these things. That's what Josephus is going to help bridge the gap and give some history behind it. And then you have the Pharisees, right? They had their traditions. They believed in resurrection. But the main thing a lot of people miss about Pharisees and Sadducees is understanding the voice that they had.
That's right.
And who they were able to have outreach to. Pharisees had the popular influence. So when you're talking about the Pharisees, they had the voice of the people. While the priests had the high priest. I mean, it's like while the Sadducees, they had the voice of the high priest, the people in the temple, politics. They were involved in that. So Josephus is going to bridge the gap between who these people are and what the scriptures tell us in brief about them. We're going to get that. Right? So the Pharisees, who were they? A lot of scholars call them the separate ones. Right? Their name is Greek in origin. Right? Pharisees is Greek. But some scholars say that the reason they're called the separate ones is because it possibly comes from the Hebrew word, right? H6567, parash. Parash. And that word means to separate or distinguish. So it's commonly understood that the Pharisees were called the separate ones. Can we substantiate that as a fact? From the research that we did, probably not, but most scholarly consensus say that. So we had to give you what history says so you can have an idea of what's being taught. So you come across someone saying the Pharisees were called the separate ones, you have an understanding now. When did they come about? Josephus says possibly around the Hasmonean period. That's around 150 BC, according to Josephus. He writes that in his book Antiquities 13, right? Book 13, book 13, verses 171 to 173. We'll get that a little bit later. Who were they? Strict interpretation of the law, but they also held ancestral tradition. Wasn't Christ getting on them about that?
That's right.
Heavily. Teachers and interpreters of scriptures. When you talk about synagogues, those are Pharisees. Sadducees didn't have synagogues. Most synagogues were run by Pharisees. Well, what did it say they did in the synagogue on the Sabbath day? They stood up and read the law. So they were teachers and interpreters of scriptures.
Yes.
And they had a significant influence among the people, meaning what they taught, the people listened to. So their doctrine was the main doctrine, right? And then origin. How did they come about? Right? A lot of scholars look at, right,
Hasadim.
And they say that's where the Pharisees come from. But you see right here, I put a question mark. Because I had to be honest with the people. Possibly historical connection, not proven by ancient sources. So this is what the scholars believe, or they say is where the Pharisees might have arose from. And then we're going to read that. Give me First Maccabees 2 and 42. Watch this.
Salakia. This is the book of Second Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse 42.
Mm-hmm.
Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law.
So this is the English transliteration for Hasnim, right? or the Pharisees. So they're saying, scholars are saying that this is where the Pharisees came from. This group. They were a break off from this group during the Maccabean times. I thought that was interesting. I can't substantiate it as a fact, but that's interesting that the scholars came up with that idea. Right, brothers, got anything else on the Pharisees before we get into
No, I'll just show why it's because these people were obviously devoted to the law. And then real quick, Acts 26 and verse 25. I'll start at verse 4. Acts 26 and verse 4. My manner of life from my youth, which was at first of mine own nation in Jerusalem, we all know the Jews, which knew me from the beginning, if they would testify that after the most straightest sect of our religion, I lived a Pharisee. So this is Paul saying, hey, yo, the Pharisees, this is the most strict part of our religion. We are not playing. Okay, so the Pharisees, that's why they probably had the voice of the people, because the people know that these people are devoted to the law.
That's right.
Right? And one more just to confirm, just so you can associate or correlate law and Pharisees, give me that Philippians 3 and 5.
Bring it out, Cap.
Hey, the water sister Julie, come feast with us. Appreciate your support.
So, like, you call it again, Ottawa?
Philippians 3, you can read 5.
Kind of the one. It's the book of Philippians, chapter 3, starting at verse 5. Circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, and Hebrew of Hebrews, as touching the law, a Pharisee.
He's saying my mindset towards the law is that of a Pharisee. I'm a zealot for the law. I'm not playing about the law because the Pharisees, that was the reputation that they had. They're pressing the line. Okay? They're pressing the line. Matter of fact, read verse 6.
One. Concerning zeal, persecuting the church, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless.
So he's saying, listen, concerning zeal, I'll go after anybody. Now, before I was doing it, going against the church because I didn't understand, because I was just only focused on the law. And according to the law, I was blameless. Why? Because he lived as a Pharisee.
Right. Excellent point.
It's lucky.
Go ahead, Cap.
So I wanted to read another extra biblical source. It's from a book called Who's Who in the Bible by Joanne Comey and Ronald Brownrigg.
Bring it up.
And it gives a little bit more in depth onto things pertaining to the Pharisee. And it reads, also unlike the Sadducees, the Pharisees held that the tradition of the elders was an authoritative interpretation of the Old Testament law of Moses. They would not revolt against Gentile rule. If God was in charge of history, they held it was not man's place to force his hands. Whereas the Zealot party burned to establish a national kingdom by force of arms, the Pharisees waited for God's intervention through the Messiah. They fostered synagogue life and worship, calling people back to the study of the law and its application to their own time. They consisted mainly of businessmen, shopkeepers, and teachers, but with some priests also. The Pharisees regarded with scorn all those who did not come up to their own rigorous standards. Such people the Pharisees regulated to the depressed class of sinners, contact with whom rendered the Pharisee himself unclean. So just that bit of information helps you understand where you see Christ rebuking the Pharisees for hypocrisy in their stance. You understand it now because now the history starts to make sense of what I'm reading and how they actually understood. So it sheds a little bit more light onto the mindset of the Pharisee.
That's a wonderful resource. Can somebody please put a link to that in the chat?
We got all those things.
What's the title? What's the title and author again?
It's Who's Who in the Bible by Ronald Brownrigg.
Excellent, perfect.
Ronald Brownrigg. I'll drop it in the chat, but I can't add the link.
Perfect. And then one last one real quick. Or I don't know if you're gonna pull this later, but
what's that?
Acts 23.
Yeah, we got that. That's coming up.
All right, I'm good then.
Right, that's gonna come right up. That leads us right to this. What did the Pharisees believe? This is where it gets very interesting. This is where it gets very interesting. So before we get these scriptures, we're going to discuss what they believe. So you have belief, teaching, scriptures, and Josephus, right? So what did they believe? They believed in resurrection. They taught the dead will rise, future life. We're going to get more into that. Acts 23, 6-8. Let's read that. Let's go let's do one thing at a time. That's your scripture right there.
Salakia.
Bring it out.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 23, starting at verse 6. But when Paul perceived that the one part were Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, Men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee, of the hope and resurrection of the dead, I am called in question. And when he had said so, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees.
Now think about that. They're mad at the teachings of the resurrection of Christ. But the Pharisees actually believe in the resurrection.
Right.
So Paul is basically saying, why are you mad at me? I believe in the hope and resurrection too. That's why there's a distinction. That's why the Sadducees probably was like, now we still got to crucify, we got to do something about them. And the Pharisees might have been like, we do believe that. We do believe that. Keep reading.
Kind of the one. Verse 9, Salakia. Verse 8, for the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit, but the Pharisees confess both.
So the Pharisees confess a resurrection, angels, and spirits, but the Sadducees don't. We'll get there later.
Hey, Salakia.
Go ahead.
One point to make note of is that they didn't agree. They only came together to scoff Christ.
That's right.
That's right.
That was the only time they got. And Paul, the dissension was so great, he was able to see right there. And all he had to do was say one thing, and he was going to start an uproar. That's
all right.
Keep going.
Now let's look at Josephus and what he says about what the Pharisees taught, right? I want to go to it because I didn't want to put all the scriptures in the slide. So I'm going to put it up online. Right? Here we go. Bingo. Right here. Y'all can see that, right?
Count out one.
Count out one.
And Kyle, shall read this for me. Matter of fact, let's start here. It's going to give everything we need.
Count out one. Now for the Pharisees, they lived meanly.
Let them know what we're reading from.
The antiquities of the Jews.
Yeah, I did that earlier.
18.12. Now for the Pharisees, they lived meanly and despised delicacies in diet. And they follow the conduct of reason and what that prescribes to them as good for them, they do. They think they ought earnestly to strive to observe reason's dictates for practice. They also pay a respect to such as are in years, nor are they so bold as to contradict them in anything which they have introduced.
That's very heavy.
It is.
Right? So they despise delicacies in diet. That's probably why they was talking about Christ. and washing of the pots. So they got their own ways of living, and their own ways were the law. But it also says something key. They also pay a respect to such as are in years. What does that mean?
The elders.
Elders.
Kind of.
Nor are they so bold as to contradict them in anything which they have introduced. Now you see.
Sounds familiar.
That sounds very familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can see why what? Christ says you have respect unto the elders, or they tell Christ, why do you go against the traditions of the elders?
Yep.
Because they paid respect unto the elders, so much that they wouldn't contradict anything that they taught or introduced, even down to the washing of pots. Right? Before you say that, before you go, even Paul kind of introduces this. What does Paul say in 1 Timothy 5?
I'm here, I don't want.
Read that.
It's the book of 1 Timothy chapter 5, starting in verse 1. Rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father, and the younger men as brethren.
So even Paul tells you what? Your elder is like your father. So possibly from his background, that respect for the elders, Paul also has that teaching. Not saying he won't contradict them, right, or go against them, because he has the teachings of Christ now. But even Paul, from his background, has that understanding. You got to have a certain respect for the elders. Right, go ahead, Aharon.
But for me, this is kind of like, oh wow, it helps give context in the first part of Acts 23 when Paul got punched, and he was you know,
read that.
All right. This is the book of Acts, chapter 23, starting at verse number 1. And Paul, earnestly beholding the council, said, men and brethren, I have lived in all good conscience before God until this day. And the high priest Ananias commanded them that stood by him to smite him on the mouth. And then Paul said unto him, God shall smite thee, thou whited wall, for thou sittest thou to judge me after the law, and commandest me to be smitten contrary to the law? And they that stood by said, revilest thou God's high priest?
Did you see that? Hold on, you can't go against the high priest.
Yeah. No matter what, it don't matter if you just got smacked. No matter what you think that you're doing, where your righteousness is, be quiet. You know. And then Paul said, I wish not, brethren, that he was that he was the high priest, for it is written, thou shalt not speak evil of the ruler of thy people.
And he went back to the law.
And watch your mouth about the elders. God.
Keep going. They taught more.
That's right.
More. Watch this. Read that. It's the next verse.
And when they determine that all things are done by faith, they do not take away the freedom from men of acting as they think fit.
So that's right there. They're saying the Pharisees believe that men have some sort of freedom. Read.
Since their notion is that it hath pleased God to make a temperament, whereby what he wills is done.
But God's will always be done. That's kind of what we say. Read.
But so that the will of man can act virtuously or viciously.
So the man has the choice. What? Give me that inside rap. 15. Choose whether you will.
This is the book. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 15, beginning at verse 16. He hath set fire and water before thee. Stretch forth thy hand unto whether thou wilt.
So you're gonna whichever you want, fire or water, that's your choice. I have set before you what? Life and death. Give me that in Baruch 4:1.
Kind of one. It's the book of Baruch, chapter 4 and verse 1. This is the book of the commandments of God, and the law that endureth forever.
Yep.
All that they that keep it shall come to life.
So if you keep it, you come to life. Come on.
But such as leave it shall die.
It's over with for you. So that's I would say that's where they're getting this from. But so that the will of man can act virtuously or viciously. Right? Let's keep going. Come on.
They also believe that souls have an immortal vigor in them, and that underneath Salakia, and that under the earth there will be rewards or punishments.
Now wait a minute now. Now remember, this is Josephus's interpretation of what he says the Pharisees believe. But one point he's making is they believe that under the earth there will be a reward or punishment. Come on.
According as they have lived virtuously or viciously in this life.
Come on.
And the latter are to be detained in an everlasting prison, but that the former shall have power to revive and live again.
So that's the resurrection. So that's the resurrection they're speaking of.
Yep.
But here you could see there could have been some Greek influences in here. Or some traditions that were passed down. You don't know how they came about.
Matter of fact, because I think it's perfect on what you just said. I'm gonna read First Maccabees 3 and 48. Why it might be some Greek traditions in there.
So lucky, I can read it. I don't want
to. Go ahead.
This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 3. You want to start at verse 38?
48.
48, Salakia. And it reads, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
So you see, one of the things that happened is when the Greeks, when they came and they took over, they grabbed our book of the law. They started to put the likenesses of their images in it, and they started changing things. And so it's very likely that they could have tried to marry Greek paganism with the scriptures, hence Catholicism, Mithraism, and the scriptures.
Yeah.
You know.
Keep going. Get the next one. Read on.
On account of which doctrines they are able greatly to persuade the body of the people. And whatsoever they do about divine worship, prayer, and sacrifices, they perform them according to their direction.
Now think about that. He said, on account of which doctrine they are able to greatly to persuade the body. So they were persuading the people those doctrines. Read on.
Insomuch that the cities gave great attestation to them on the account of their entire virtuous conduct, both in the actions of their lives and their discourses also.
Right, so that means what? That they are the people were followers of the Pharisees. They had the prevailing doctrine. What they taught, people took heed to and believed and possibly taught themselves.
Yep.
Hold on, we ain't get there yet. Don't read that. Okay? Don't go back and put it on pause. We ain't got to the side. All right, back up the PowerPoint. So basically what I did, instead of reading it going back and forth, I just read all the scriptures that protest to what they believe, right? So angels and spirit they confessed angels and spirit, Acts 23 and 8, which we have down here. And then the providence and choice, the Most High governs events, man still has moral responsibility. We're also going to get that in the war, okay? That's also another book of Josephus, 2:162. Let's read that. Let's read that. Here we go.
This is from the Wars of the Jews, 2.162. But then, as to the two other orders at first mentioned, the Pharisees are those who are esteemed most skillful in the exact explication of their laws and introduce the first sect. These ascribe all to fate or providence and to God.
That's right. So they say the Pharisees are esteemed the most skillful in their basically explanation of the laws. All right, let's go back real quick. No, that has nothing to do with it. Read this.
And yet allow that to act what is right or the contrary. It's the principle in the power of men. Although fate does not cooperate in every action.
Come on.
They say that all souls are incorruptible.
They say all souls are incorruptible. What are they trying to say? When you die, your flesh goes where? Into the dirt. Let's read that in Ecclesiastes. But your soul goes back to the Father. But they have a book here. We're going to read all of it. Because this is what we would say. We would have this point in a sense. But they're going to add on.
Salakia.
Bring it out.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, starting at verse 7. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it.
So the spirit is going to return unto God who gave it. So I could see where they got this part from. They say that all souls are incorruptible. Meaning no matter what, your soul is going back to the Father, I would say. But what else does it say? Read this, Nakawasha.
But that the souls of good men only are removed into other bodies. But that the souls of bad men are subject to eternal punishment.
So the souls of good men are removed into other bodies, but the souls of bad men are subject to eternal punishment. That sounds almost like reincarnation. What says thou? Unless he's talking about a glorified immortal body as a resurrection. It doesn't say. All right. Brothers got any points on that? Anything you want to say about that?
I don't want. It's plain.
So it's interesting what they actually believed, right? And then we read Antiquities 18 and 13. And then afterlife, reward and punishment. Reward for the righteous, punishment for the wicked. We read Iniquities 18 through 14. So this is some of the parasitical beliefs that they had. All right. Somebody got background noise like they're reading something.
Salakia, that's me. Salakia, I don't want.
All right. The traditions of the elders. Josephus, the Antiquities 13, verse 297. Succession from their elders. And then Christ, or the Bible, which weighs heavier, has the same teachings that they taught, some kind of tradition from their elders. Let's get Josephus first, and then we'll get the scriptures, right? Let's read this.
This is the Antiquities of the Jews, 13.297. But of these matters we shall speak hereafter. What I will now explain is this, that the Pharisees have delivered to the people a great many observances by succession from their fathers, which are not written in the laws of Moses.
So traditions, that's why Christ cuts them. You follow, you make one disciple, but you make him more like you.
That's right.
Traditions of men, which are not written in the laws of Moses. Come on.
And for that reason, it is that the Sadducees reject them.
So now you see the problem the Pharisees and the Sadducees had.
Exactly.
The Sadducees is like, fam, that ain't in the Bible. You made that up. The washings of pots. I'm in sin. The Sadducees ain't feeling that. Read it again, huh?
And for that reason, it is that the Sadducees reject them and say that we are to esteem those observances to be obligatory, which are in the written word, but are not to observe what are derived from the traditions of our forefathers.
Salakia.
Go ahead.
Would it be fair to say this, Adawan, that the Sadducees more than likely observed the hypocrisy of the Pharisees as well as everyone else, especially Christ, which led ultimately to their beliefs in not believing in the resurrection and angels and spirits? They noticed the hypocrisy as well.
It could be like they see in the hypocrisy, like, yo, I can't even believe what anything else y'all teach for real.
Okay.
It could be.
And then plus, not to mention, they were of the higher class, so it makes sense. Hey, God's favor is how much money you got. There's no resurrection. You better live it up now, because they were in a privileged place to do that. But real quick, I'm gonna read one scripture for this. Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 16. Thus, in process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as law, engraving images or worship by the commandments of kings. So it shows, hey man, over time, customs and traditions, you see how they ended up being kept as law when it had nothing to do with the scriptures, but people are prioritizing that and giving that weight over actually what the scriptures said. You know, and this is back during the time of Solomon.
Yeah, that's heavy, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why even when the Lord gave you the law, he said, listen, don't add to this. Don't take away from it either. But don't add.
That's right. Let's get a few scriptures that discuss the tradition of men and the elders. Let's get I like how Mark reads, but get Matthew 15 and 3 first. Let's read that.
I got Matthew.
What about Daniel?
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 15, and verse 3. But he answered and said unto them, why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? For God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother, and that curseth father or mother, and he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But ye say, whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, it is a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father and his mother, he shall be free.
Right, so he cut them. How are you gonna say follow your traditions and disobey God, but you teaching the youth not to respect their parents? What are you doing? So you disannul God's laws to follow your traditions? That's what's going on here, family. That's what's being played out here. And now we're seeing why through historical references of Josephus. Give me Mark 7.
Salakia.
Go ahead.
This is the book of Mark, chapter 7, starting in verse 6. He answered and said unto them, well hath Esaias prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, this people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me.
They do what?
This people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me.
So Christ is calling them out on their hypocrisy. You honor me with your lips, but your heart is far, your mind is far from me. You're more concerned about how you look, the people that follow you, instead of being concerned about keeping the commandments and ultimately your traditions, right? Keep going. Where you at? What verse?
Verse 7.
Okay.
Howbeit in vain do they worship me.
If he says in vain, you worship him. Read.
Teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
They could teaching for doctrines, the commandments and tradition of your elders and men. Why are you doing this? Just read what's on the paper. So there you could tell there was a sense of pride going on. Read on.
For laying aside the commandments of God, ye hold the tradition of men.
So you lay aside the commandments of God and hold the traditions of men. Read.
Ye hold the tradition of men as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such things ye do.
Read.
And he said unto them, full well ye reject the commandment of God, that ye may keep your own tradition.
You reject the commandments of God, that you keep your own traditions. Give me Colossians. Two and 8. Start at 6.
This is the book of Colossians, chapter 2, starting at verse 6. As ye have therefore received Christ Jesus the Lord, so walk ye in him.
My bad. I start at 4.
Conrad 1, verse 4. And this I say, lest any man should beguile you with enticing words.
Don't let anyone beguile you with enticing words. Because remember, the Pharisees had synagogues where all over the place. So once Paul leaves, what do Jude say? Men crept in unaware. He tells the Galatians, who has bewitched you? Right? Read on.
For though I be absent in flesh, yet I am Shalakia, yet am I with you in the spirit, joying and beholding your order and the steadfastness of your faith in Christ.
Come on.
As ye therefore received Christ Jesus the Lord, so walk ye in him.
Read.
Rooted and built up in him, and established, Shalakia, and established in the faith, as ye have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving.
Come on, here's the point.
Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit.
Beware. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. Come on.
After the tradition of men.
So even Paul cutting them. Come on.
After the rudiments of the world and not after Christ.
So a lot of these traditions were after the rudiments of the world and not the traditions or teachings of Christ.
That's right. Salakia.
Go ahead.
I think it's notable to see how Paul was able to even realize the error that's in his own doctrine.
That's real.
And be able to come back to the laws of God and just be plain with it. You know, not to a point where Paul puffed himself up above so many others, but he kept the humbleness of mind. And I think once you see how the mindset of the Pharisees were and how they view others, I mean, it really opens up the scriptures to a degree where you just sit back and you're like, man, now I see why Paul said some of the things that he said and moved the way he moved. Because for a Pharisee, you taught the law, but hypocrited the same law. And you taught people not to be a respecter of persons, but yet you are a respecter of person at the same time. Man, and it's wild once you really sit back and you see how even Paul dealt with the traditions that he held, and now having to correct the people and understanding, hey, that ain't right.
That ain't right.
So we gotta stick with what's here, and we gotta let that go. It's notable, and it takes a lot of courage and the spirit of the Most High to be able to do that.
And it makes me think: is that why the Most High chose Paul? I mean, the Most High, but through Yahweh chose Paul because he was a Pharisee. They had the majority vote of the people and doctrine and synagogues. And they also taught resurrection. So who else better to go out and make disciples of Christ? Paul. He had, when you don't really hear John speaking of the resurrection. You don't hear that in 1 Peter, 2 Peter. But Paul got you in 1 Thessalonians. He got you in 1 Corinthians 15.
Yep.
He's breaking down the resurrection almost in depth. And that's probably why he was chosen out to be one of the apostles and disciples, because his knowledge and background and skill in the law. So he could persuade many. And as you see, he has the most books in the New Testament. So understanding his background allows you to understand why he possibly was chosen. Right? Let's move on. All right. The Pharisees and their influence. Right? The Pharisees, the people, the multitude on their side. Right? Teaching authority. So they had the multitude on their side, but even Christ confirms, the Pharisees, he didn't say the Sadducees, you notice that, right? He said the scribes and the Pharisees stick in Moses' seat, right? And they had political influences even upon the rulers. We're going to read those in Josephus first.
Yeah. Oh, man.
You got to see that. And it's in the scriptures. I think we read that one. We read 298. Let me see. Let me get that. Let's read that.
Count that one. This is from the Antiquities of the Jews, 13.298. And concerning these things, it is that great disputes and differences have arisen among them, while the Sadducees are able to persuade none but the rich.
Read it again.
While the Sadducees are able to persuade none but the rich.
So the Sadducees, according to Josephus, are only able to persuade the rich. And
have not the populace obsquience to them, but the Pharisees have the multitude on their side.
Pharisees have the multitude on their side. So the Sadducees didn't have the popular vote. The Pharisees did. Right? It's heavy. You see, synagogues are here. You see, they're leading debates in Acts 15. That's why you see that's why now you can get a picture of what's happening from the New Testament into the Acts and why the Pharisees are still being brought up. Because when you're going out to teach, who are the apostles and disciples basically teaching against? The Pharisees majority and also the Sadducees. So they're teaching against the doctrine that prevailed. And the Pharisees had the multitude on their side. Go ahead, Aaron.
Hey, and Salakia, like how you said, the Sadducees sat in Moses' seat. Why? Because usually the high priest was chosen out of that of the Sadducees. And a lot of the scribes were Pharisees and scribes were locked in together. But a lot of times that like I said, that high priest came from that of the Sadducees because they were at the top dealing with the rich and had to actually deal with the Romans and the other people, right? Yeah. Just to other double down on that, I'm gonna get John 11. Remember the council that was had about with the high priest about Christ and what should be done? Watch this. This is John 11 and verse 47. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council. Okay, so you see the chief priests and the Pharisees were not the same. You see, and said, what do we do? For this man do many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation.
Yeah,
and that's why the Sadducees, being the high priest, they're like, oh, wait, he messing us up politically, because they had the influence, the political influence amongst the rich and the other heathen. So that's why they were concerned about how Christ would disrupt what they had going on politically, as opposed to the Pharisees. They're like, yeah, okay, that's cool, but he's breaking the law, right? If we just go to real quick, get John 9 and 16 to prove how they mad at him. Because remember, it was 2 accusations on Christ that they used to justify his death, right?
Salakia.
Go ahead.
It's the book of John, chapter 9, and verse 16. Therefore said some of the Pharisees, this man is not of God, because he keepeth not the Sabbath day. Others said, how can a man that is a sinner do such miracles? And there was
So you see, the high priest and the Sadducees, they were worried about him messing it up politically. The Pharisees, they were like, yeah, that's cool. He's breaking the law.
Yeah,
it's the Sabbath that I'm concerned about. You know what I'm saying? So just showing how their different priorities or biblical perspectives influenced how they interpreted Christ's presence and activity.
That's heavy right there. That's heavy, because it even you makes me wonder what Caiaphas was. Obviously, he was the high priest, but you know they say the high priest was really tied to the Sadducees, so he might have. He might have had those influences.
Yeah, Caiaphas
was a Sadducee, right?
Yeah. So watch this. Let's just read down to 49, right? And one of them named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, y'all know nothing at all, nor consider that is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. Because he's actually seeing what's going on. He said, y'all are not looking at this properly. Me being high priest, maybe you never know. The Lord maybe spoke to him. But I speak as a man when I say it's probably likely that he's talking to other Sadducees in this particular instance and say, y'all don't know nothing at all. Y'all not even considering that he is the guy. Yeah, we don't really teach resurrection. Yeah, we don't really believe in angels. But this dude is obviously the guy. Y'all are not even considering. Y'all don't have your antennas on. But him being high priest and having to maybe take that office probably could have came with extra reading, extra consulting. I don't know. I'm speaking as a man. Maybe the Spirit supped with him and said, hey, listen, you're tripping. But either way, he's saying the people that he's talking to, he said, y'all not even considering what this man came to do. And for someone who understands resurrection, who's waiting for that, they would understand. He would need to say this.
Hey, read verse 57.
Kind of long. All right. So listen, just the book of John, chapter 11, going down to verse 57, right? Now, both the chief priests and the Pharisees had given a commandment that if any man knew where he were, he should show it, that they might take him.
We have it. They made them calls.
Yeah.
Now you get an understanding of who they are, though. Let's read this. Look how it's on the screen.
God, this is Antiquities of the Jews, 13.407. Alexander left behind him 2 sons, Hyrcanus and Aristobulus, but committed the kingdom to Alexandria. Now, as to these 2 sons, Hyrcanus was indeed unable to manage public affairs and delighted rather in a quiet life.
He wasn't with all that. Come on.
But the younger Aristobulus was an active and a bold man. And for this woman herself, Alexandria, she was loved by the multitude because she seemed displeased with the offenses her husband had been guilty of.
Come on.
So she made Hyrcanus high priest because he was the elder.
Come on.
But much more because he cared not to meddle with politics.
So he wasn't like the Sadducees.
And permitted the Pharisees to do everything.
She permitted the Pharisees to do everything. That's how they had a political ear too. Read.
To whom she ordered the multitude to be obedient.
And she ordered the multitude to be obedient to the Pharisees. Come on.
She also restored again those practices which the Pharisees had introduced, according to the traditions of their forefathers, which her father-in-law, Hyrcanus, had abrogated.
So he took them away, but she brought the traditions back. Right? Read.
So she had indeed the name of the regent, but the Pharisees had the authority. For it was they who restored such as had been banished, and such as were prisoners at liberty, and to say all at once they differed in nothing from lords. However, the queen also took care of the affairs of the kingdom and got together a great body of mercenary soldiers.
Right, so that's enough on that. Right, so but basically showing what the Pharisees had the authority. Right, that's why we said here that what the Pharisees had, what they also had some political influence. Right, they was able to get into politics as well. Now you got the queen allowing them to rule and do as they please. So obviously now John 11 makes even the more sense. They can't. The queen gave us the place. Her father took it away. We can't let Christ come take it away as well. Now you see the thinking behind it. Why are they fighting so hard to do away with Christ? All right. Let's get into Christ and the Pharisees' rebuke. Christ rebuked hypocrisy, outward righteousness, and them neglecting the weightier matters. In Matthew 23:3, it says, they say and do not. And then further on in Matthew chapter 23 and verse 27, outwardly appear righteous unto men. Let's read some of that. We got to read some of that.
Yeah.
Let's go to that.
We want to start?
Start at verse 1, and then we'll jump around.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 23, beginning of verse 1. Then spake Yahushua to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever that they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not.
So do not after their works, because they say and do not. That's what we put here. What? Christ condemned their hypocrisy and corruption, not every doctrine associated with the Pharisees. So when they taught the law properly, you must follow. However, you do not follow after their unrighteous works. Let's read.
You want me to jump to 23 or keep going?
Keep going.
Okay. Verse 4. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers.
Right. Find me the scripture where they talk like about the Sabbath journey. Who knows about that?
A Sabbath day's journey.
Yeah. That's an Acts.
Yeah. It's in beginning part, half of Acts.
Yeah. It's like 2.
I'll tell you.
Acts 1 and 12.
Okay.
Let's read that.
It's the book of Acts. Oh, go ahead.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 1, beginning at verse 12. Then returned they unto Jerusalem from the mount called Olivet, which is from Jerusalem a Sabbath day's journey.
Right. So they had when you look into this, they said the Pharisees had made a rule on how far you could even travel on the Sabbath.
Yep.
Remember, they got on Christ for eating the corn, healing on the Sabbath day. They had a lot of different rules and regulations that if you did these, Josephus told you they would call you unclean.
That's right.
And rebuke you and do away with you. Let's go back to the scriptures. Let's read verse 5. Let's read some of this.
It's the book of Matthew 23 and verse number 5. But all the works they do for to be seen of men, they make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments.
They make fringes to the floor. Right, read on.
They love the uppermost rooms at feasts and the chief seats in the synagogue.
So they could be seen by everybody. Come on.
And greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not ye called Rabbi, for one is our master, even Christ, and all ye are brethren.
Come on.
And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven.
Jump to verse 13.
Verse 13. But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men, for ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in.
So now you understand how they were shutting up the kingdom with their traditions. You can't go into the kingdom unless you wash the pots, or you living like this way, or you understand like us. That's why they stone Stephen. Read.
Okay, verse 14. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, for you hypocrites, for you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make a long prayer. Therefore, you shall receive the greater damnation.
Y'all was like cutting them. Come on.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you can pass sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, you make him twofolds more the child of hell than yourself.
So you to become like one of the Pharisees is worse. Right? Let's jump to verse 23. I think we get the point.
Verse number 23. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you pay tithe of the mint and the anise and the cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith.
They ain't teaching the weightier matters of the law. Very hypocritical. Jump to verse 28. What's the point?
28. Even so, ye also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within you are full of hypocrisy and iniquity.
Can't get around that. So Christ wasn't really rocking with the Pharisees like that. They might have had some good teachings on the law, right? They might have been able to teach well, but as far as their conduct, Christ wasn't feeling that.
Hey, Salaki, that's probably what he was cutting as a kid. Like, yeah, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Even in Luke, he's the what did the Pharisees say? I fast twice a week. I'm glad I'm not like this publican. And Christ tells you what? That the publican will get the kingdom before the Pharisee.
Right. He was humble.
Yeah, because he was more humble. The Pharisees was proud. And they based probably their teaching off of that. Keep going. All right. Two rivals, one council. Pharisees versus Sadducees. Pharisees, resurrection. They believed in resurrection, angels, and spirits. Sadducees, resurrection, no. Angels, no, and spirits, no. The multitude was divided. Don't that sound familiar? The That sounds too familiar. Right. The Sadducees. Read that slide for me in the cover shop. You got it.
The Sadducees, who were they?
Let me get some.
They were the priestly aristocrats. So the name Sadducaios comes from the Greek. Scholars have said that the name of the Sadducees can stem from priest Zadok, that they could theoretically trace their lineage back to the priestly line of Zadok. That's speculation. We have no way of proving that whatsoever.
But think if that's true, you see why Paul says don't worry about endless genealogies. You trying to go way back to priest Zadok? Come on, come on, your family was in the Greek captivity too. Then Persians and Mede, then Babylon. You saying you going way back? You got a line from that? Come on now. He was cutting it. Go ahead.
So their origin is disputed. So when by circa 150 BC, during the Hasmonean period, which is noted in Josephus' Antiquities of the Jews 13.174 through 173. The Sadducees, they were small but influential. They were influential to the wealthy and those of high status, which Josephus noted in the Antiquities of the Jews 13.298 and 18.17. They had temple power. They were high priest. They were in the high priestly circle. They had temple leadership, and you can reference that to Acts chapter 4, verses 1 through 2, and Acts chapter 5, verses 12 through 17.
Let's get those scriptures. Let's get those in Acts. All right. This is gonna segue. Watch this.
So I got.
Bring it out.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Another one. I got Acts 4 and verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And as they spake unto the people, the priests and the captain of the temple and the Sadducees came upon them.
So read it again.
And as they spake unto the people, the priests and the captain of the temple and the Sadducees came upon them.
So you see who the Sadducees is rocking with. They with the priest and the captain of the temple. And what being grieved, what I read that verse 2.
Verse 2, being grieved that they taught the people and preached through Jesus the resurrection from the dead.
Come on.
And they laid hands on him, and they put them in the hold until the next day, for it was now eventide.
Come on.
Howbeit many of them which heard the word believed, and the number of the men was about 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to pass on the morrow that the rulers and elders and scribes and Annas the high priest and Caiaphas and John and Alexander and as many as were the kindred of the high priest were gathered together at Jerusalem.
Right. So now you see Caiaphas, Ananias, John, with the Sadducees around. They gathered together, but they was not. They was putting people in jail for teaching the resurrection of Christ. Because they did not believe in resurrection. Give me that 5 and 12.
God of the ones. It's the book of Acts, continuing in chapter 5 and verse 12. And by the hands of the apostles were many signs and wonders wrought among the people. And they were all with one accord in Solomon's porch.
Yep.
And of the rest durst no man join himself to them, but the people magnified them. And believers were the more added to the Lord, multitudes both of men and women, insomuch that they brought forth the sick into the streets and laid them on the beds and couches, that at the least the shadow of Peter passing by Salakia might overshadow some of them.
They had so much faith that the shadow of Peter. That's a different kind of faith. Everybody agreed, right? Yes. They laid the beds in the street. You gotta go back and read Acts.
That's right.
And if Peter's shadow passed them by, they believed they were healed.
Anything, that's faith.
That's a different kind of faith. That's why Christ, you faithless generation.
Hey, Salaki, it makes me think of, you know, that thing that's going around with people catching the cologne and spraying it. Imagine like trying to catch that shadow. Like, let me get some of that favor.
I need some of that faith. Some of that favor. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's heavy.
It's heavy. Read on.
Karadawan, verse 16. There came also a multitude out of the cities around Salakia, round about unto Jerusalem, bringing sick folks and them which were vexed with unclean spirits, and they were healed, every one. Then the high priest rose up, and all they that were with him, which is the sect of the Sadducees.
Which is the what?
The sect of the Sadducees.
There you have it. Come on.
And were filled with indignation.
So it correlates the sect of the Sadducees being the high priest. And were filled with indignation. Read.
And laid their hands on the apostles and put them in the common prison.
So they still putting them in prison. Come on.
But the angel of the Lord by night opened the prison doors and brought them forth and said, Go, stand and speak in the temple to the people all the words of this life.
Come on.
And then they heard that they entered Salakia. And when they heard that, they entered into the temple early in the morning and taught. But the high priest came, and they that were with him, and called the council together, and all the senate of the children of Israel, and sent to the prison to have them brought.
Come on.
But when the officers came and found them not in the prison, they returned and told, saying, The prison truly found we shut with all safety, and the keeper standing without before the doors. But when we had opened, we found no man within.
Come on.
Now when the high priest and the captain of the temple and the chief priests heard these things, they doubted of them whereunto this would grow.
So you go get these folks, man. Got to go holler at them. We're going to have a council with them, with the Senate. Everybody ready to do it. They ain't in there. The angel done opened the doors.
Imagine that. Throwing somebody in jail for preaching that there's angels, just to realize the very next day it was the angel who got him out.
Crazy. Read on, it gets better.
Count out of one, verse 25. Then came one and told them, saying, Behold, the men whom ye put in prison are standing in the temple and teaching the people.
Now they teaching the people about Christ and the resurrection. Read.
Then went the captain with the officers and brought them without violence, for they feared the people, lest they should have been stoned.
So let's see, they feared the people, lest they be stoned. Come on.
And when they had brought them, they set them before the council, and the high priest asked them, saying, Did not we straitly command you that ye should not teach in this name? And behold, ye have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine.
They did what?
You have filled the Jerusalem with your doctrine.
That's a heavy point, because where was the temple? In Jerusalem. You know, we dealing with the Sadducees now. The high priest, the temple. It called them what? The temple chief, the captain of the temple. Read.
And intend to bring this man's blood upon us. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, We ought to obey God rather than men.
Read.
The God of our fathers, who raised up Jesus, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree. Him hath God exalted with his right hand to be a prince and a savior, for to give repentance to Israel and forgiveness of sins.
So you see why they saying this now? This is the Israelite 101 scripture. Now you see why this is being said. They had to be released from jail or freed from jail by the angel but the Sadducees threw them in there because of their disbelief in the resurrection and the doctrine of Hamashiach Yahushua. Keep reading.
Salakia.
33.
Verse 32, I don't want.
32, come.
And we are his witnesses of these things, and so is also the Holy Spirit, whom God hath given to them that obey him. When they heard that, they were cut to the heart and took counsel to slay him.
They wanted to kill him for that. They wanted to kill Peter for that. Read.
Then stood there up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a doctor of the law, had in reputation among all the people, and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space.
Now what did they say about Gamaliel? He had what?
He had a reputation among all the people.
Didn't the Pharisees have the reputation of the people?
God, I don't want.
So you see, the Sadducees is running what? The council. But a Pharisee stood up to calm all the people down. Now it makes sense what you're reading.
And Salakia.
You just think stuff is happening. No, it's a purpose behind it. Go ahead, Cap.
Hey, and more just on the big homie Gamaliel, read Acts 22 and 3. So why he is a factor.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 22, and verse 3. I am verily a man which am a Jew, born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, Salakia, yet brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel.
At the who?
At the feet of Gamaliel.
Who was Paul's direct teacher that taught him all of this stuff in the law that he's able to kind of use?
Yet brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel.
Gamaliel is a figure, a factor, a trophy, okay, on the side of the Pharisees. That's why he was so well respected. This was literally Paul's teacher in the law. Go ahead.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 5, continuing in verse 35.
No. Finish out 22 and 3.
Salakia.
Just read from the top on down.
Kind of the one. It's the book of Acts, chapter 22, and verse 3. I am verily a man which am a Jew, born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, yet brought up in the city at the feet of Gamaliel, and taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous toward God, as ye all are this day.
So Gamaliel, although he knew the law was perfect, and although he knew that, hey, it's technically this is kind of contrary to my doctrine of a Pharisee, let's see his wise counsel. Go back in Acts and read what he had to say.
Kind of the one. It's the book of Acts, chapter 5, continuing in verse 35. And said unto them, ye men of Israel, take heed to yourselves that what ye intend to do as touching these men. For before these days rose Theodas, boasting himself to be somebody, to whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves, who was slain, and all, as many as obeyed him, were scattered and brought to naught.
Right. So listen, a man rose up thinking to be somebody, and they slew him. Read.
After this man rose up, Judas of Galilee, in the days of the taxing, and drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed.
Now watch this. They say Judas of Galilee led the zealots. He was one of the leaders of the zealots. That's another sect we could have went into. We're going to mention them a little bit later at the end, but they said he was the one that raised up and led that sect, right? Because he was what? Against the taxation. So he said, no, we do not obey anyone but God. We are not paying their Rome's taxes. And you end up being asleep.
So, which is why it was probably why it was a popular topic for them to ask Christ, should a man pay taxes? Because
you see what's going on?
Pushing that.
You see how it all makes sense now?
Yeah.
Do I revolt and not pay the taxes, or Christ, do I pay the taxes? Hey, give unto Caesar what is Caesar.
Caesar's.
So it almost sounds like the New Testament is all about building schools and pushing this word and practically applying and dealing with each other.
That is it. That is the whole, or the New Testament, especially Acts, is what we're doing today.
Come
We're just waiting on our Messiah.
on.
Read on that.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 5, continuing in verse 38. And now I say unto you, refrain from these men and let them alone. For if this counsel or this work be of men, it will come to naught.
That's right.
But if it be of God, ye cannot overthrow it.
Come on.
Lest haply ye be found even to fight against God.
Read.
Making
him great idiot.
Verse 40. And to him that
go ahead.
And to him that agreed, and when they had called the apostles and beaten them, they commanded that they should not speak in the name of Jesus and let them go.
They ain't unalive them, but they beat them.
Mm-hmm.
Read.
And they departed from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name.
So they counted it joy. That's so when James says, count it all joy. Count it joy for the suffering of Christ. When Paul teaches that,
yes,
the suffering. They got beat for the name of Yahushua. Come on. But they did what? Verse 42.
And daily in the temple and in every house, they ceased not to teach and preach Jesus Christ.
But they didn't cease to teach Hamashiach Yahushua.
That's right, man.
Hey, Salakia, real quick. If a brother can go to Sirach chapter 34 and verse 9. And this is why I made a point to say, hey, you know what? Shout out to big homie Gamaliel. Because he was an elder who gave some wisdom. And because of that, the word continued. Because he could have said, no, kill him, you know, because he had influence. But we've seen the scripture played out. Read verse 9 and then we can jump to verse 12.
Bring it up. It's book of Sirach, chapter 34 and verse 9. A man that has traveled knoweth many things, and he that hath much experience will declare wisdom.
So he was able to give wisdom because he's seen it all and he's experienced it all. And he said, hey, remember them? They faded out. Remember those guys? They faded out. He was able to give wisdom of their experience and say, so listen, let's not touch them, because if it is of the Lord, we don't want to be on the wrong side of this thing. But either way, it's going to come to naught. He was able to give wisdom through his experience. You gotta have an elder.
Hey, Salakia.
Go ahead.
One thing I think is important to note in concerning with the Sadducees, and yes, they had the aristocrats and they had the wealthy, but they also had the high priest.
Yeah.
But we see historically from the scholars, how was the high priest chosen? It was chosen by Alexandria.
Yeah.
But the high priest should stem through the line of Aaron, which is passed down from father to son. And it's done generationally. But here you see that they were actually chosen by a heathen nation.
Crazy work.
Crazy.
It shows you the disorder that was happening amongst Israel, which now shows you the reason why you had to have an example before you on how to get back to God. Because I can't get back to God with my sacrifices because the priests are out of order. Give me Malachi chapter 2.
That makes so much sense.
It's crazy when you really dig into the history and you see these things right in front of your face, man. It's like that light bulb just go on. That's why I said, man, when we're doing this study, man, it just opened up a lot for us. Give me Malachi chapter 2, start at verse number 4.
Salakia. This is the book of Malachi chapter 2, starting at verse 4. And ye shall know that I have sent this commandment unto you, that my covenant might be with Levi, saith the Lord of hosts.
Keep reading.
My covenant was with him of life and peace, and I gave him Salakia, and I gave them to him for the fear wherewith he feared me, and was afraid before my name.
And so the reason why Levi was chosen was because of the fear that he had towards him, the heart that Levi had towards the Most High. Man, keep reading.
Kind of 1, verse 6. The law of the truth was in his mouth, and iniquity was not found in his lips.
Right.
He walked with me in peace and equity, and did turn many away from iniquities. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth.
So they should seek the law at the priest's lips, who were the Levites.
Yeah.
But now you have the Hasmonean dynasty choosing their own priests.
Yeah.
And putting them in position. So now you have to learn the law from them. It's completely out of order.
Out of order.
The heart, man, hey, listen, the heart of the Sadducees wasn't like the heart of the priests. Wasn't like the heart of Levi.
That's crazy.
Keep reading on that.
Kind of 1. Continuing in verse 8. But ye departed out of the way. Ye have caused many to stumble at the law. Ye have corrupted the covenant of Levi, saith the Lord of hosts.
So here you see, man, Levi was out of order. Man, all of Jerusalem was out of order. From the priests on down, from your priests to your teachers. It's why the scriptures say the whole head was sick. So now you see why we had to have Hamashiach come at that time to be that example, man. Hey, it brings the scriptures full circle when you start looking at the history and even outside sources that corroborate what's already been written. It's crazy, man.
That's right. Yeah. All right, you still want that Sirach 34 and 12, or you was done with that?
No, I mean the point. No, we good. Next.
So what did the Sadducees believe? Resurrection. They denied the resurrection of the dead. Right? Acts 23 and 8, and Matthew 22, 23, chapter 22, verses 23. Right? And then you have the Antiquities of Josephus 18.16. We read that already, but we'll read it again, right? And then we have soul and afterlife. We'll read all of these again, just because we was on the Pharisees, but now we're on the Sadducees, right? Souls die with the body, rejected reward and punishment of Hades. Very interesting, right? Antiquities 18.16 and Wars 2.165. Angels and spirit, denied angels and spirits. That's Acts 23 and 8, right? Providence and choice, right? Rejected fate, emphasized human choice for good and evil. That's Wars 164. And then traditions, rejected Pharisaic ancestral regulations, held to written law. That's Antiquities 13.297. Right? And then you have the Matthew 22 and 23. The same day came to him the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection. Let's get Josephus and then we'll go a little bit further. Just rip that. All right. So let's go back to at 18. 18 and then the wars is 2. I think it's right here. So it's 18 and 16. Let's do this first.
This is Antiquities of the Jews, 18.16. Says, but the doctrine of the Sadducees is this, that souls die with the bodies.
Read it again.
That souls die with the bodies.
So just Josephus's historical account on the Sadducees, he describes the Sadducees as having a doctrine that says the soul dies with the body. Very interesting that they believe that. Well, we read Ecclesiastes and it don't say that.
Right. And that's why Caiaphas said, bro, y'all know nothing at all. Like y'all are completely ignorant to this whole thing. You think souls are you don't understand. This man has to die for our soul, for the whole world. Like y'all whole entire belief system is out of whack.
Yep.
I think he started to have a change of heart.
Yeah. Keep reading.
Nor do they regard the observation of anything besides what the law enjoins them.
So they only believe what the law has to say. They ain't with them traditions. Read.
Yep. For they think in an instant of virtue to dispute with those teachers of philosophy whom they frequent.
So that the Pharisees, they dispute them. Read.
But this doctrine is received by but a few.
But everybody don't. So they was not believing that your soul died with the body. They weren't feeling that. The people did not feel that.
Right.
Read.
Yet by those still of the greatest dignity.
Come on.
But they are able to do almost nothing of themselves.
Why? Because the Pharisees got the people. Read.
For when they become magistrates, as they are unwillingly and by force sometimes obliged to be, they addict themselves to the notion of the Pharisees.
So even some Sadducees, because you want that high position, but to be that, you got to go through what Sadducees.
You gotta sell out.
You got to sell out on your doctrine, but you actually believe what the Pharisees say.
God.
It's like Game of Thrones.
God.
Freaking Cersei is here.
Keep going, because
the multitude would not otherwise bear them.
So to be the Sadducee, you want to get in the magistrate, you kind of had to be a Sadducee, but to get the multitude, the Pharisee.
Yeah. So what? Look at what it's saying. What it's saying is, back then, church became big business.
Yeah.
Today, what is it? Church is big business.
Big business, yeah.
It's the same thing.
Same thing.
It's repeating itself.
Sell out.
Yep.
So that means it's probably some Pharisees that was actually in the magistrates, but they just changed it. Now I'm gonna be a Sadducee. Don't worry, I'm with y'all, but I'm gonna be a Sadducee. Gotta claim Sadducee right now, and maybe vice versa. All right, what's the next one? That's the doctrine of the Essenes. We're gonna get to that. Don't worry. We'll get to that. What was it? 2 and what? It was this
one. This is from Josephus, The Wars of the Jews, 2.164.
Let me see something real quick.
Kind that one.
Let's just start here and build the case. Let's build this case. Come on.
This is The Wars of the Jews, 2.162. But then, as the other two orders at first mentioned, the Pharisees are those who are esteemed most skillful in the exact explication of their laws.
Isn't it funny though that the Sadducees stuck to only the Torah, basically, seems like, but the Pharisees are still more skillful?
Yep.
Read on.
And introduce the first sect. These ascribe all to fate or providence and to God, and yet allow that to act what is right, or the contrary, is principle and power of men, although fate does not cooperate in every action.
Read.
They say that all souls are incorruptible, but that the souls of good men only are removed into other bodies.
I'm gonna study this. I want to study this. Yeah. This point. What do they mean by that? Where are they getting this from? What verses did the Pharisees read to come to this conclusion? And the other point with the Sadducees, how did they come to that conclusion that the soul dies? Read.
Hey,
but that the soul.
Go ahead,
it makes sense why the Pharisees had a better grasp on the explanation of the law, because they actually feared punishment and eternal damnation or salvation, as opposed to the Sadducees. They're like, hey, I mean, loosely, I'm gonna try to do this, but once my lights go out, it's a wrap anyway. So live it up. As opposed to the Pharisees, they realize, oh no, I really got to get this right, which is probably why they were more zealous, because they feared what would happen after death.
Good point. Keep reading.
But that the souls of bad men are subject to eternal punishment. But the Sadducees are those that compose the second order.
Read.
And take away fate entirely.
Ain't no fate. They take away fate entirely. Read.
And suppose that God is not concerned in our doing or not doing what is evil.
That don't even make sense.
And they the high priest that was chosen. This the one who's
that don't even make sense. We got to listen to that. So live it up, YOLO. Read.
And they say that to act what is good or what is evil is at men's own choice, and that one or the other belongs so to everyone that they may act as they please. They also take away the belief of the immortal duration of the soul and the punishments and rewards in Hades.
So they take away that. They're not dealing with those beliefs.
That's like, please, it's crazy.
Read.
Moreover, the Pharisees are friendly to one another and are for the exercise of concord in regard for the public. But the behavior of the Sadducees, one towards another, is in some degree wild.
Should say wild. Barbaric. Read.
And their conversation with those that are of their own party is barbarous, as if they were strangers to them.
So they don't know how to talk to each other. That's probably why nobody don't want to deal with that, man. No. These people talking crazy. I'm with you when you talking to me crazy. See why? That's why they put hands. They had no the scripture didn't even say they thought about it. They put hands on people.
Yeah. On site, man. It was on site.
Hey, Paul, he swung on Paul. Go ahead,
So, Lucky, I'm just drawing an interesting parallel, right? So, the founder of the Church of Satan, his name is Aleister Crowley, right? One of his central tenets is do what thou wilt. Whatever feels good to you, whatever you want to do that. That's a central tenet of the Church of Satan, right? That sounds eerily similar to what the Sadducees believed before. And God don't care whether you do evil or not. Kind of, it's up to your own discretion. You kind of loosely know what you should do, but if you choose not to do it, it's on you. Hey, do whatever feels good. And that same philosophy, which caused confusion then, the Church of Satan is using it today. And even the Christian church, what they say, come as you are.
Yep.
Just it is what it is. Just any old thing. God loves the sin, loves the sinner, but hates the sin. It's okay. Just come on.
Hey, it shows you the impact that Greek culture had upon men in that day, because even Paul battled men in Athens who were of the mind of the Epicureans and the Stoics, and they believed the same exact thing. When you do look at the history of the Epicureans and the Stoics, their philosophy was basically do whatever is pleasing unto you. And that's the mindset that has trapped man. When you see the way that Esau has polluted the mind of individuals, man, and that colonial mindset and their takeover spirit, man, it's caused people to be lawless, man. No matter where they go, they are lawless individuals, man.
Yeah. He's not telling, because Esau and they're not telling you you have to do this over there. You have to be on the left hand side. But what they actually say is more dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Do it if you want to.
Yep.
You can go right, you can go left, you can do zigzag, you can, my body, my choice. You can decide what gender you are today. You could decide to be trans ageist, whatever you want to do that. That's specifically why the Lord says, no, you are set apart. You be holy because I'm holy.
That's right.
You can't do what you want to.
That's right.
Read it again from the top out.
Count that one. Still at the wars of the Jews, 2.166. Moreover, the Pharisees are friendly to one another and are for the exercise of concord and regard for the public. But the behavior of the Sadducees one towards another is in some degree wild.
The exercise of the concord is not physical exercise. That means they live harmoniously with each other.
Right.
So they exercise or practice love and communal living. That's what the Pharisees did. They were kind to one another. That's in the contrast to the Sadducees. Read.
And their conversation with those that are of their own party is as barbarous as if they were strangers to them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I had to say concerning the philosophic sects among the Jews.
That's right. That's right. Let me see if he got something else to say. Oh, that's it. All right. So let's go back to the slide. That's to understand. You gotta really. I said when we was diving into this, it was like, yo, we got to go back and read books. We got to go back and read different chapters in the scriptures because it makes it that much clearer. All right, let's get this one. 13,297. Mm-hmm. 13,297 should be good. Right here. Read this.
God, this is Antiquities of the Jews, 13,297. But of these matters we shall speak hereafter. What I would now explain is this, that the Pharisees have delivered to the people a great many observances by succession from their fathers, which are not written in the laws of Moses. And for that reason, it is that the Sadducees reject them.
So the Sadducees reject their traditions, read.
And say that we are to esteem those observances as obligatory, which are in the written word, but are not to observe what are derived from the tradition of our forefathers.
So they wasn't dealing with them traditions, man. There's one good thing. They wasn't dealing. No. Not teaching that. Read that in the cow shop.
The Sadducees challenge Christ.
That's right.
1 woman, 7 husbands. This is Matthew 22:28. Whose wife shall she be? Then Christ responds, Matthew 22:29. Ye do err, not knowing the scriptures or the power of God. And going to Moses, Exodus 3, verse 6, saying that God was the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. Matthew 22:31-32.
So let's look at this scripture for a second. All right, we won't give a complete breakdown. We're going to have to do a lesson on this. This is going to be an in-depth lesson we do on resurrection. So look forward to that. That's Matthew 22, right?
It's the question.
That's why there's a question. All right. So let's just read this account. When a brother get it, go ahead. You want to start at the top.
Okay, guys.
23.
22 and 23.
Yep.
Count out of one. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 22, starting at verse 23. The same day came to him the Sadducees, which which say, Salakia, that there is no resurrection, and asked him, saying, Master, Moses said, if a man die having no children, his brother shall marry his wife and raise up seed into his brother, unto his brother.
That's the law of next of kin. If your spouse die and has no children, or a man child, your brother got to marry her. Read.
Now there were with us 7 brethren, and the first, when he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issue, left his wife unto his brother. Likewise the second also, and the third unto the 7th. And last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, into the resurrection, whose wife shall she be of the 7? For they all had her.
Now look how slick they are at trying to disprove the resurrection. They've come up with some scenario. Got him. Let me ask the chat this. Let me stop sharing this for a second. Do you think the Pharisees was able to answer that question? Because they had to run this by Pharisees.
That's probably their go-to that they be using to cut.
You know that one cut you got for the Trinity, or that one cut you got for heathen salvation? Oh, he teaches resurrection too? The Pharisees can't answer that.
Got him.
Got him. I'm gonna ask him. He say he's the son of God. We're gonna ask him. We're gonna ask him if he can deal with it. And Yahweh, I gotta answer for him like always. Let's look at this. Let's go back.
Hey, this is fun. Hope y'all having fun. You're supposed to enjoy this thing.
What do you say, verse 28?
Salakia, verse 29.
Yeah.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 22, continuing in verse 29. Jesus said, Salakia, Jesus answered and said unto them, ye do err, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of God. For in the resurrection they neither marry, nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven.
That's so heavy, because as we're seeing what Josephus says about their doctrine, we could agree. They do error. They don't know the scriptures as they think.
Right.
They're probably so corrupt with the Roman magistrates and politics that they couldn't see the scriptures if they hit them in the face.
Yep.
Right? Read this verse again. 29.
Verse 29. Jesus answered and said unto them, ye do err, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of God. For in the resurrection they neither marry, nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven.
Read.
But as touching the resurrection of the dead, have ye not read that which was spoken unto you by God, saying, I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living.
So even he understanding this might cut the question. What about what gate does Abraham and Isaac? They don't need a gate.
God.
Their spirits are already with the Father. They don't need a gate. Their spirits went upward with the Father. We know they're good. Right? Read on.
And when the multitude heard this, they were astonished at his doctrine.
It says when the multitude heard this, they were astonished. Wait a minute. Now everyone, now it's no debate now. He's done, the Son of Man has solidified. He cuts them resurrection and then explains further on a deeper resurrection, which don't worry, that's a lesson we're gonna have for y'all. Don't worry. We already discussed there has to be a class on what? Resurrection.
Come on.
Just wait. That's coming. All that explanation will come. Read.
Verse 34. But when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they were gathered together.
He cut them. He cut them. So he put the Sadducees to silence and cut them completely.
And they all came together like, yo. You know, I imagine it. Y'all seen what's that super hot fire when he did that thing and everyone was like, oh.
Canada one.
And you can't deal with. You can't deal with them, man.
Hey, but look, no, read the next one. Read the next one, just please.
Canada one. Verse 35. Then one of them, which was a lawyer.
Which was a who?
Which was a lawyer.
Because he's like, all right, sin, bro. Because he's a lawyer. He's the best of the best of the best. If you got to that, bring out the big guns. And so then they started to try to challenge more and more and more.
Yeah, the key challenge
couldn't get with.
And Yahushua is cutting them left. Yeah. He said he put the Sadducees to silence. Mm-hmm. You got to start reading that when you cut a brother and he walk away, and put the Sadducees to silence. Put them to silence, man. Right? Just keep going. Just keep going on the PowerPoint and bring it up. All right, so that's the Sadducees challenging Christ. Right? So small sect, big power. Why were the Sadducees so influential? Right? Few in number. This doctrine is received but by few. High social status, yet by those still of great dignity. Right? And then we've seen it in Acts 5, how they came together and was able to throw Peter and the other apostles into the prison. So the Pharisees influenced through the people, the Sadducees influenced through the elite and temple leadership. Mm-hmm. Right? That's why Josephus says this, or states this historically. The Sadducees are able to persuade none but the rich, but the Pharisees have the multitude on their side. That's Antiquities 13.298. You read that. All right. Then we got another sect. This sect is not mentioned in the New Testament, so we won't have scriptures referring to this, but I wanted to get this because a lot of people allude that Christ and John the Baptist are Essenes, and there's no documentation that says this. So name Essenes. Exact origin of the name is uncertain. Meaning is highly debated. When, right? Same period, the Hasmonean period. Josephus also in Antiquities 13.171 and 1 through 173 make mention of them. Right? So he says 3 sects are here. And he says Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes. So historically, Josephus recognizes Essenes as a major sect. Right? And then you have who? Strict Israelite community. Separation from border society. So they live secluded in mountains. Strong purity practices. They believed in a lot of washings, purities. Right? When the law says your unclean laws, where you got to wash for those, they was heavy in that. They had communal discipline. Right? They lived in small communities, and it was the discipline. They were simple, but they had assertive lifestyle. Where and how did they live? Communities throughout Judea, organized communities. When you read some scholars, it says that they sat down for every meal and ate together.
Sure.
Now, how family oriented that is. Everybody, it's dinner time. We're gonna sit down and eat.
Salakia.
Go ahead.
To add on, they also distributed their wealth equally, from what I've read, and there's some sources. Yeah. There was no one man that was more wealthier than the other. They balanced it out and distributed amongst the entire congregation.
Yeah. Excellent point. That's right. I read that as well. Mini celibacy, another group permitted marriage. So there was even differences among the Essenes. Some said you needed to be celibate, and others permitted marriage. So you see how different doctrines start rising because of these things. And that's we're going to read these two. The Wars 2.191, and then we're going to read we're not going to read all the way to 61, and then we're going to read Philo, right? So let's get those. I got to pull those up real quick. Let's pull those up. All right, let's read this.
Now, this is the Wars of the Jews, 2.119. For there are three philosophical sects among the Jews. The followers of the first, which are the Pharisees, of the second, the Sadducees, and the third, which pretends to a severer discipline, are called Essenes.
So this could be which pretends to. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
These last are Jews by birth and seem to have a greater affection for one another than the other sects have.
So these are mostly all Israelites. So even Josephus might be saying some of the Sadducees and Pharisees had some infiltrates. But he says these last are Jews by birth and seem to have great affection for one another than the other sects. All right, let's keep going. Read.
The Essenes reject pleasure as an evil, but esteem continence and the conquest over passions to be virtue.
Read.
They neglect wedlock, but choose out other persons' children while they are pliable and fit for learning, and esteem them to be of their kindred, and form them according to their own manners.
Right. So that's a different kind of dealing right there. I don't know how you get that from be fruitful and multiply. Maybe they had an idea like, yo, we got to stop bringing children into this wicked kingdom. I don't know. Keep going.
They do not absolutely deny fitness of marriage and the succession of mankind thereby continued, but they guard against the lascivious behavior of women.
So that's the point, right?
And are persuaded that none of them preserve their fidelity to one man.
Right?
It's crazy.
So their major point is, yo, it's too much lasciviousness. Why does that make sense? Because what was going on in Rome, look how these people live. And then Israelites are getting caught up in that lasciviousness? No. So we got to do this away.
But that's hypocritical. That's hypocritical within itself.
Yeah.
To say that you guard against lasciviousness, but you speak against fidelity for a woman to have one man. So it's just be with whoever you want to be with, and it's okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Keep going.
These men are despisers of riches, and so very communicative as raises our admiration. Nor is there anyone to be found among them who have more than another.
That's what Charlotte was speaking of. They spread the wealth. Read.
For it is a law among them that those who come to them must let what they have be common to the whole order. Insomuch that among them all there is no appearance of poverty, nor of excess of riches, but everyone's possessions are intermingled with every other's possession. And so there is, as it were, one patrimony among all the brethren.
That's heavy, though. I mean, that's an interesting lifestyle, right? See how they decided to not allow poverty, but also not allow the love of money to infiltrate, because they probably felt like what the Pharisees and Sadducees is infiltrated with money. So how do we do away with this? Their idea was nobody's going to be rich, no one will be poor. Keep going.
They think that oil is a defilement, and if any one of them be anointed without his own approbation, it is wiped off his body. for they think to be sweaty is a good thing, as they do also to be clothed with white garments. They also have stewards appointed to take care of their common affairs, who every one of them have no separate business for any, but what is for the use of them all.
So this is Josephus describing how they lived. Come on.
They have no one certain city, but many of them dwell in every city.
Come on.
And if any of their sects come from another place, what they have lies open for them, just as if it were their own. And they go into such as they never knew before, as if they had been ever so long acquainted with them.
That's it. When you come around, it's brotherly love. I never knew you, but I'm here with you.
God.
Right. Let's get Josephus' opinion on it. I mean, Philo. Let's see what Philo has to say. Philo got some interesting points too. What is that? This code is hard to find. Okay, here we go. Okay, read right here. I'm gonna make it bigger.
Come.
I'll make it bigger. Read this first.
Another ancient source, Philo, who lived in Alexandria, Egypt, between circa 20 BCE and 50 CE, also describes the Essenes. Philo tells of a group of pious individuals who live in villages, and like the Essenes of Josephus, practice communal ownership of goods and services, adhere to regulations of purity, and maintain an agricultural way of life.
75.
Moreover, Palestine and Syria are not barren of exemplary wisdom and virtue. In these country lives, no small portion of that most populous nation of the Jews, there is a portion of those people called Essenes, in number something more than 4,000, in my opinion.
This is Philo's opinion. Read.
Who derive their name from their piety, though not according to an accurate form of the Greek language. 116, because they are above all especially devoted to the service of God.
Read.
Not sacrificing living animals, but studying rather to preserve their own minds in a state of holiness and purity.
Come on.
These men, in the first place, live in villages, avoiding all cities on account of the habitual lawlessness of those who inhabit them, knowing that such a moral disease is contracted from associations with wicked men.
So you get a moral disease for dealing with wicked men. Right?
Just as a real disease might be from an unhealthy atmosphere, at that this would have a deadly effect on their souls.
So you get a moral disease from hanging around wicked people. Birds of a feather flock together. Keep going.
Of these men, some cultivating the earth and others devoting themselves to those arts which are the result of peace, benefit both themselves and all those who come in contact with them, not storing up treasures of silver and gold, nor acquiring vast sections of land out of the desire of ample revenues, but providing all things which are requisite for the natural purposes of life.
Come on.
For they alone of almost all men have become poor and destitute by deliberate action, rather by any real deficiency of good fortune, but are nevertheless accounted very rich, judging contentment and frugality to be great abundance, as in truth they are.
Come on.
Among those men you will find no makers of arrows, javelins, swords, helmets, breastplates, shields, no maker of arms or military engines, no one in short attending to any employment whatsoever, Slakia, whatever connected with war, or even to any of those occupations, even in peace, which are easily perverted to wicked purposes. For they are utterly ignorant of all business and of all commercial dealings and of all sea trade, but they repudiate and keep aloof from everything which can possibly afford any inducement to covetousness. There is not a single slave among them, but they are all free, adding one another to a reciprocal interchange of service. They condemn the owner of slaves not only as unjust, in as much as they corrupt the very principles of equality, but likewise as impious. Salakia.
Just lost everybody.
I think we lost Captain Yaquab, man.
Yeah. Salakia family.
Captain Al Haran. But you can see just from the historical readings that we've learned about the Essenes and how they lived such primitive lives. Now you can see how some scholars could view John the Baptist as being an Essene because he did what? John the Baptist was in the wilderness, had camel's hair for a skin of camel's hair for clothes, and he ate honey and locusts. So they would say that would be a form of service as an Essene would do. And then Christ, living a kind, almost a similar kind of life, but not as far as the camel skin, but more of a base life. So in that understanding, man, we see how the different sects had different fashions or different manners in which they serve or tried to serve the Most High. Now, one thing about their scenes that I read that was important, and it's interesting that they go back to the Hasmonean dynasty as well, is that the Essenes rejected the priesthood.
Yeah.
So them rejecting the priesthood, what did that mean? That they understood the disorder or the dysfunction, so they separated themselves to avoid that type of dysfunction amongst themselves, or to infect themselves with the disease that they view others carry. So it's man, and this is why we say that this study it's eye-opening, because you really get to understand the mindset of that day and how they view the scriptures and everybody's service towards the Most High. The whole goal is to be pleasing unto the Most High. But you see that there are different sects amongst Israel, and because of their own belief, that's what caused the divide, which is what we have today. The same exact thing, man.
That's right. It's like my crazy thunderstorm out here in Florida right now. Knocked my entire power out.
That one.
We're gonna get a little bit more.
Captain Aaron as well.
Yeah, he said he had to go.
Come on.
Let's read a little bit more of this. Can you see that?
Count that one.
Where were we? We're in this section. For ignorant. Read this part again.
For they are utterly ignorant of all business and of all commercial dealings and of all sea trade, but they repudiate and keep aloof from everything which can possibly afford any inducement to covetousness. There is not a single slave among them, but they are all free, aiding one another with the reciprocal interchange of services. They condemn the owner of slaves not only as unjust, inasmuch as they corrupt the very principles of equality, but likewise as impious, because they annul the ordinances of nature which created them all equally and brought them up like a mother, as if they were all legitimate brethren, not in name only, but in reality and truth. We lost Cap again.
God, it must be a bad storm. Salaki family. Salaki, I think another, correct me if I'm wrong, I was reading another source. I want to say it was from Philo on the Essenes that was interesting to me. I would say, just speaking as a man from what I've studied, they were the more of the strict sects.
Okay.
Just from what I've been reading, I also read one reason they rejected the Hasmonean dynasty and the priesthood of that time was because they did not believe that the Maccabees came from the lineage of Levi, not directly. And they felt like he somewhat like they took that as a spoil of war. They took that priesthood as a spoil of war during some of the victories that they had during that time. And so I say that to say this, like these other nations, it's important for us to read and study. These other nations had the scriptures before we did. So it's easier for them to oppose on us these doctrines. And we have to go seek this knowledge for ourselves. That's why this lesson is so important for us to go back and study these sects and piece together why certain accounts in the Bible are taught this way and why Paul teaches that and why Timothy and Peter and Gamaliel, the council that he had, it's all pieces together beautifully, man. And it was fun. I'm gonna go back and study more. As a matter of fact, it was that interesting to me. So I want to make that point as well. I yield. I don't know.
Okay.
Is I don't want backwards. Oh yeah.
We had Cat back on stage. Let's see if I can bring him back. Okay.
I might be all right now. That thunderstorm is bad right now.
Okay.
It look like a hurricane outside right now. You can't even see. I can't even barely see out my windows that bad.
Are you having alerts? You might need to.
No, it's not.
Okay, okay.
It's just a bad thunderstorm. It's all right. Let's get through this. We ain't gonna do nothing. All right. The scenes one last time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, right here. Yeah.
Count that a while. For they are utterly ignorant of all business and of all commercial dealings, and of all sea trade, but they repudiate and keep aloof from everything which can possibly afford any inducement to covetousness.
Mm-hmm.
There is not a single slave among them, but they are all free, aiding one another with a reciprocal interchange of services. They condemn the owner of slaves not only as unjust, inasmuch as they corrupt the very principle of equality, but likewise as impious, because they annul the ordinances of nature, which created them all equally and brought them up like a mother, as if they were legitimate brethren, not in name only, but in reality and truth.
So that's the Essenes, right? That's the Essenes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to read on them.
Yeah.
It is a lot, I won't lie. Let's bring this up. Right. So a lot of people equate the Essenes to the quorum community, right? Where the Essenes, the quorum community, what we know, the quorum community is basically those that were involved in writing the Dead Sea Scrolls. So what some scholars attest to is that the lifestyle of the quorum community and the Essenes are so similar that either some Essenes were in that community or the quorums themselves were Essenes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you would get the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what we know, Dead Sea Scrolls were found in caves near Qumran. Sectarian writings include community rules, Damascus document, war scrolls. Why they're connected: community property, ritual washing, purity, strict initiation. They said to get into being a scene, to be in a scene, it was almost like getting into a fraternity. It was very hard to get into. The quorum also had community discipline, separation from broader society. So all of that sounds like the Essenes, but important caution. The Dead Sea Scrolls never explicitly call the community of scenes. It's a strong historical theory, not absolute proof. So you may hear people say that. The same thing with Christ is a scene, John is in a scene. If there is some historical similarities, but there is to say it's the absolute fact, that's just not the case. Right? So you got to be cautious in even saying that. Keep going. Right? So 3 ancient witnesses attest to the Essenes, right? Josephus, Philo, and Pliny the Elder, right? Josephus says, right, we read community property, ritual washing, strict initiation, discipline, shared meals believed, and the soul survives after death, right? So they believe just like the Pharisees in that aspect. Philo says the same thing, which we read. And then Pliny the Elder places the Essene community near the Dead Sea Scrolls. So he says that the Essenes lived in communities near the Dead Sea, where the Dead Seas were found. Hence why history suggests that the Essenes probably wrote the Dead Sea Scroll. Right. He also describes them as living apart from ordinary society. That's highly natural history, 5.73, if you want to read that. Different ancient writers independently describe recognizable Essene movements, right? Because some people question the Essenes, are they real or are they not? But you have two scholars, even who is who in the New Testament, who is who in the Bible, that book that you have, they mention them, if you want to get that. Right. Let's read that real quick, since we got a little time. Get that section. That was interesting as well. You could get that real quick. Let me know when you get it. The themes are something to look into. You gotta understand who they were, how they practiced, because they probably had a small influence in that time. And it could be a possibility of how John the Baptist came up in that simple way. Right? It could be a possibility, like this things live this way, and he was intrigued at the simplicity of their lifestyle, not wanting to involve himself with the Sadducees and Pharisees and the different sects of that time. Right? You ready, Ak?
Kind of one.
Bring it out.
So, just gonna read a few highlighted points.
Yeah.
It's from the book Who's Who in the Bible. It says the Essenes, Greek from Syriac, meaning holy ones. The Essenes were a Jewish sect which grew up in the 2 centuries before the Christian era. One branch of this sect settled in Qumran. Recently, they have found new fame as the probable writers of the Dead Sea Scrolls and the pioneers of the monastic community in the wilderness of Judea. A schismatic movement of priests broke away from the worship of the temple and from the theocratic rule of the Maccabean high priesthood. They did so because they considered that the Maccabees were not entitled to be high priests, not being of the correct tribe of Levi. The Hasmoneans had simply claimed the high priesthood as spoils of conquest and war. If therefore the priesthood was invalid, so were its sacrifices in the temple at Jerusalem. That's heavy too.
That's heavy.
During the Greek domination, the calendar had to be remodeled to the more exact lunar cycle. The conservative Essenes considered this calendar invalid together with its appointed sacrifices. In their eyes, consequently, there were feasting on fast days and fasting on feast days with which God was displeased.
That's what they believe. Right? So we gotta look into these different sects, right? It's not saying you gotta use this to guide your life, but it's a part of your history because all scholars say all of these people were Israelites. That is one agreeable consensus. They say that these people were emphatically Israelites, right? Keep going. Right, so there also are additional sect and groups, right? You had the fourth philosophy, the revolutionary movement associated with Judas the Galilean. We read that in Acts, right, 5 and 37. You had the Zealots, who they say he kind of pioneered this, or he might have been in the Zealot movement. This is all interesting. Watch. Militant revolutionary faction, prominent during the Israelite War, right? Josephus War, the chapter 4. You can read that. Then you have who? The Sicarii. Dagger carrying assassins. Whoa. Radical anti-Roman factions, right? We're going to get that also in Josephus. You're going to read about the Sicarii. We're going to read about that fourth philosophy. You had the Samaritans, distinct Israelite religion community centered on Mount Gerizim, right? You can read that in John 4 and 9, and then 20, and then Josephus. Right, and then you have the Theropodate. I think that's how you say that. Right, aesthetic Jewish community described in Egypt, and obviously Philo will write about them because he was in Egypt at times. Right, so you had not just those three sects, but you had a variety of different Israelite sects that rose up during the time in the Greek captivity, during the time of Christ, and then after Christ. And then you have the period of who? The church fathers. Right? Let's look at some of this. Y'all don't mind that thunder. Y'all, it's more scared than me. All right, let's look at it. All in the back. Jack, quiet, get away from the window. I hear y'all right now. Let's look at this. That's not the one I want, Salakia. Here we go. Let's go back. All right, read this.
This is Antiquity of the Jews, 18.1. Now, Cyrenius, a Roman senator, and one who had gone through the Majesties and had passed through them till he had been consul, and one who, on other accounts, was of great dignity, came at this time into Syria, with a few others being sent by Caesar to be a judge of that nation and to take an account of their substance. Copinus, also a man of the equestrian order, was sent together with him to have the supreme power over the Jews. Moreover, Cyrenius came himself into Judea, which was now added to the province of Syria, to take an account of their substance and to dispose of Archelaus's money.
So there you have the taxations and all of that. Now we're a province of Syria. So Josephus gives some historical information that we need to understand what was kind of happening in that time. Right? Keep going.
But the Jews, although at the beginning they took the report of the taxation heinously, yet they did leave off any further opposition to it. By the persuasion of Joazar, who was the son of Bethius and high priest, so they, being overpersuaded by Joazar's words, gave an account of their estates without any dispute about it.
So now we understand, like Aharon said, why they said what? Do we pay these taxes or not? Because this was a dispute going on. Here's Judas, right?
Yet there was one Judas, a Galileonite, of a city whose name was Gamala, who taking with him Sadak, a Pharisee, became zealous to draw them to a revolt, who both said that this taxation was no better than an introduction to slavery, and exhorted the nation to assert their liberty.
Now go to Acts 5 and read it again. Now you got context of why Gamaliel said this. 37.
Count out one. This is the book of Acts, chapter 5, now back in verse 37. After this man rose up, Judas of Galilee, in the days of the taxing, and drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed.
So Gamaliel made a note to make sure you understand the taxing, the days of the taxing. That's why he said this. He drew a revolt. Instead, the taxation was no better than an introductory to slavery.
Yeah.
Come on.
As if they could procure them happiness and security for what they possessed, and an assurement enjoyment of a still greater good, which was that of the honor and glory they would thereby acquire for magnanimity. They also said that God would not otherwise be assisting to them than upon their joining with one another in such counsels as it might be successful and for their own advantage. As this especially, if they would set about great exploits and now grow weary in executing the same. So men received what they said with pleasure, and this bold attempt proceeded to a great height. All sorts of misfortunes also sprang from these men, and the nation was infected with this doctrine to an incredible degree.
Come on.
One violent war came upon us after another, and we lost our friends, which used to alleviate our pains. There were also very great robberies and murders of our principal men. This was done in pretense, indeed, for the public welfare, but in reality for the hopes of gain to themselves.
There you have it. All right, let's keep going.
Whence arose seditions?
Go ahead.
No, that just when the source before this, the page before this, brings me back to Baruch when he teaches about being subject to payments and taxation. That's what came to my mind. It's Salakia.
Yeah, that's the right point.
It's so much to read, man. It's so much to study.
Yeah, it's so much to study. Keep going.
Whence arose seditions, and from them murders of men, which sometimes fell on those of their own people, by the madness of these men towards one another, while their desire was that none of the adverse party might be left. And sometimes on their enemies, a famine also coming upon us, reduced us to the last degree of despair, as did also the taking of and demolishing of cities. Nay, the sedition that lasts increased so high that the very temple of God was burnt down by their enemies' fire.
They weren't playing about them taxes.
No.
You gonna rebel?
Yep.
And revolt? Okay.
Think of the power that the IRS has now. They can garnish your wages, man.
Yeah. Wait, 9. Read this one and then one more.
Such were the consequences of this, that the customs of our fathers were altered, and such a change was made as added a mighty weight toward bringing all to destruction, which these men occasioned by their thus conspiring together. For Judas and Sadak, who were excited a fourth philosophic sect among us, and had a great many followers therein, filled our civil government with tumults at present.
So them going against the government drew down hard on Israel. Read.
And laid the foundations of our future miseries. By this system of philosophy, which we were before unacquainted withal, concerning which I will discourse a little, and this the rather because the infection which spread thence among the younger sort, who were zealous for it, brought the public to destruction.
So the young men was like, yo, I'm with that. We ain't paying no taxes. But he brought the nation down. Right. And then it goes into the Essenes, right? So that's another sect that existed during that time. Right. And then he talks about them also in chapter 23 and 25. Right. And then the zealous. Let's get this one. This one is interesting as well. Let's get the Sakari. Right. Let's get the Sakari. It's going to give us all of it. All right, go ahead, Ak.
When the country was purged of these, there sprang up another sort of robbers in Jerusalem, which were called Sakari, who slew men in the daytime.
They didn't care. They slew men in the daytime. All right, go ahead.
And in the midst of the city, this they did chiefly at festivals, when they mingled themselves among the multitude and concealed daggers under their garments, with which they stabbed those that were their enemies. And when they fell down dead, the murderers became a part of those that had indignation against them, by which means they appeared persons of such reputation that they could by no means be discovered.
It's heavy, read.
The first man who was slain by them was Jonathan, the high priest.
So the Sakari slew Jonathan, the high priest. Read.
After whose death many were slain every day, while the fear men were in of being so served was more afflicting than the calamity itself. And while everybody expected death every hour, as men do in war, so men were obliged to look before them and to take notice of their enemies at a great distance. Nor, if their friends were coming to them, durst they trust them any longer. But in the midst of their suspicions and guarding them of themselves, they were slain. Such as was the celerity of the plots against them, and so cunning was their contrivance.
So the Sakari were very skillful, man. And they had people afraid. Read on.
There was also another body of wicked men gotten together, not so impure in their actions, but more wicked in their intentions, which laid waste the happy state of the city no less than did these murderers. These were such men as deceived and deluded the people under pretense of divine inspiration.
So as people rose up, they're talking about they got divine inspiration. So that was the Sakari, right? But now it's another, he got divine inspiration. Read on.
But were for procuring innovations and changes of the government. And these prevailed in the multitude to act like madmen and went before them into the wilderness, as pretending that God would there show them the signals of liberty. But Felix thought this procedure was to be the beginning of a revolt. So he sent some horsemen with footmen, both armed, who destroyed a great number of them.
They got destroyed. Read on.
But there was an Egyptian false prophet that did the Jews more mischief than the former.
They got an Egyptian false prophet.
For he was a cheat and pretended to be a prophet also, and got together 30,000 men that were deluded by him.
Sound like a Yaju. Read.
These he led round about from the wilderness to the mount, which is called the Mount of Olives, and was ready to break into Jerusalem by force from that place.
Hey, that spirit I have you going crazy. He gonna break into Jerusalem. He know damn well he ain't that person. Who he say he is? Read.
And if he could but once conquer the Roman garrison and the people, he intended to domineer over them by assistance of those guards that were to break into the city with him.
Come on.
But Felix prevented his attempt and met him with Roman soldiers, while all the people assisted him in his attack upon them, insomuch that when it came to a battle, the Egyptian ran away with a few others.
I bet he did.
While the greatest part of those that were with him were either destroyed or taken alive. But the rest of the multitude were dispersed, everyone to their own homes, and were concealed themselves.
There you have it, man. So there was a lot of things. It's a lot of history.
Yeah.
That was going on during these times. Right. So that's why we mentioned some of the other groups, right? So one nation, different interpretation. Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes. Pharisees had the people, the Sadducees had the temple and the elites. The Essenes were had separate communities. Pharisees had oral ancestral traditions. Sadducees focused on the written law. Essenes strict community interpretation. Pharisees believed in resurrections. Sadducees did not. Essenes future judgment and immortality. Pharisees believed in angels and spirits. Sadducees did not. And Essenes angel prominence. So they did believe in angels. Pharisees active among society. Sadducees priestly and political power. Essenes separation and purity. Don't want nothing to do with nothing they got. Christ did not simply fit into one of these schools. Right? Where did Christ stand? So you have Christ in the middle, Essenes, Pharisees, Sadducees, all pointing toward Christ, but Christ says what? My doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. So Christ doesn't fall into any of these groups. They actually needed to draw into Christ, is the purpose of this slide. All of these groups needed to draw into the belief of Hamashiach Yahushua, his death, burial, and resurrection.
That's right.
Right? And know the world, but so like you know the world behind the text. Understanding the sects help us understand the scriptures.
That's right.
So Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes, and then other groups and movements. The New Testament did not happen in a vacuum. When you read the New Testament, you could get caught in that vacuum just reading it like it's a novel in a book and forgetting so much history that was roundabout and transpiring and going on before Christ and even after. Knowing the historical world helps us understand the controversies, questions, and conflicts recorded in scripture, right? And then we have our sources, right? So that's really the end of the slides. We have our sources. We obviously went to the KJV is the main source. We got Josephus, we got Philo, Pliny the Elder, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and then that is the end of the presentation.
Oh, praise.
Right? Israelite sects in the days of Christ. Man.
Well done, Ottawa. Well done.
All praises, right? Brothers, got anything?
Just Salakia. I just make a comment. I think the importance of the doctrine and learning about these different sects. I think the point is this: is how to relate it to today's time would be You don't have to teach what brothers teach, but if we are to gather ourselves together before the decree, before Christ returns, we got to be agreeable and peaceable with each other, man. That can't be within our own camps. That can't be within our own doctrine. This was happening before. We just taught 3.5 hours. What the disputes we have now amongst the nation, it's happened before. But what are we going to do to stop the cycle? Somebody has to do it. Yeah. Somebody has to do it. We can teach this day after day, and we will, because we're sincere and we believe these things, man. But it has to come to an end, or we'll spend another, I don't know, however long on this earth, man. And I don't care for that too much. I know I can speak for the brothers on the panel. We wouldn't want to suffer this place any longer than we have to, man. So it's important, man. Go back and study. It also brings some light to why Nehemiah taught so adamantly about reading in the book and gaining a sense and amongst the people when he taught. Like, he understood these factions or would come about. He understood that the division would happen, man. And the importance of reading for yourselves and coming together and sharing that knowledge with each other and acting upon the things that we learn about, man.
That's right. Excellent point. Got anything else?
Wow.
That scripture is what made us go down the rabbit hole.
What, Romans 15?
Yeah, that's they was written for our learning. We had to go look at that. We had to, who are these people, man?
That's right.
They always mention, but you had to figure out who they are. And then you see that, what? Let me bring this up. Then you see this division, the sects of Israel. So we said this earlier. 2,000 years ago, Christ came into a divided nation. You can't tell me right now that we have more wisdom, we have more knowledge, we have more resources. With all the wisdom, knowledge, and resources that we have, we can't stop the division. Unite, not in doctrine, not in one big camp, but in trying to be cordial and put away the old hate that he said this, the elders beef from the past. We can't put that away and allow Christ, when he returns, to come into something that's united. So you're telling me 2,000 years have passed and we're still gonna have division. What have we learned? If the scriptures were written for our learning, we should understand that a nation divided cannot stand. Right. Are the camps separately doing great works? Of course. Tremendous things brothers and sisters are doing.
Yeah.
But I would say all of that equals to nothing if we can't unite in a cordial manner. This is how when we see each other, at least a salute. And a real salute, not you hating salute. This brother got on this color. It has to be some type of formality that we live by as Israelites, or we are no different than the Sadducees, the Pharisees, the Essenes, and the different groups that arose during that time. We all have a personal gain, when the personal gain should be Israel getting life in the resurrection through Christ. I think we can all agree there. So that's the true purpose of this lesson. We see the division back then. What are we going to do about it now?
That's right.
What are you going to do about the division now? How can you be solely for your camp when there's a nation that needs help? So looking back and doing that lesson, that's all I was thinking about. Wow, we haven't changed. We haven't changed. We haven't changed. Even Paul says, I'm glad I didn't baptize none of you. You say you're of this house and this brother and that brother. It's the same thing. You say you of this camp, that camp, and there's no unity amongst you.
God, I don't know. It's heavy.
But you will go in the street and teach. You gangbangers got to come together. But then when somebody asks us why the Israelites aren't unified, we got some stupid answer. We make up something stupid, something so stupid. Every camp got the stupid answer. Every one of us. And SOT, we've been talking. We tired of the stupid answer. We're not gonna stand for that no more. So we call to all camps to have unity and peace amongst every last one of them that teach Christ, Yahweh Shai, the commandments and the faith. We call for unity and peace amongst them all, because it makes no sense to continue what the Pharisees, Sadducees, and all these other groups had going on 2,000 years from now. It makes no sense to us to continue to hold that. Give me Psalms 133. We go hopscotching. Somebody come to camp. Why you camps ain't divided? You on your news platform? Why your camps ain't divided? You got some nerve to make up some answer of why not. When all Christ taught was, you gotta love your neighbor as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing he taught.
That's right.
So there at least has to be some sort of love, or you might as well just keep waiting. Might as well keep waiting. Most High put us on an up and down roller coaster. It go give high, gas prices going up, the war in Iran, then it go back down. New president, new this, and go back up, then come back, because we can't figure it out. Christ came back to restore brotherhood.
That's right.
Give me the parable real quick, where the man fell down by the robbers and thieves, man. You know what I'm talking about? Let me find that.
I don't know.
Let me find that real quick. Luke 10, 30. Read this. How we act.
Salakia, it's the book of Luke, chapter 10, and starting at verse 30.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus answering said, Salakia, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, which stripped him of his raiment and wounded him and departed, leaving him half dead.
Mm-hmm.
And by chance, there came down a certain priest that way. And when he saw him, he passed by on the other side.
How? That's your brother. He just left Jerusalem. He going down to Jericho. He got hit up by some thieves. Pass on by. That's the spirit we got. The pass on by spirit.
Yep.
Ain't no love spirit. For self spirit. It ain't about the self. Do we appreciate the major, big camps, small camps, and in the middle of every last one of them doing the work? We must appreciate. But we making it about us. And we're making the beefs of these old elders that now gone and some passed away, and we're carrying those into now 2026, where we say we have the most wisdom, but we don't have the wisdom to be unified. And then when you ask the question, you have an excuse. Well, this might happen. Didn't you? How can something happen if God is for it? And if it does happen, God wanted that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no excuse on why not. Why we're not doing it. The only thing is, we gotta try. We gotta Why don't we do some public apologies and show the world, yo, we bigger than this, man. We really but we don't want that. We want a self for self for self. You don't even gotta be public. The hell with the public. Behind closed doors, because the world don't need to see what we do.
That's right.
And then we can show, yo, we salute this camp's them been beefing for years. Beefing is the right word. For years. Now we saluting. Put all of that aside. Because if not, you're passing that down to the children.
Yep.
And what did the children have to do with it? Keep reading that.
God, one. It's the book of Luke, chapter 10, continuing in
32.
Verse 32. And likewise a Levite, when he was at the place, came and looked on him and passed by on the other side.
Read.
But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came there, Salakia, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion on him.
Now, how does the Samaritan have compassion? You Jews don't want to deal with the Samaritans, but the Samaritan got compassion on a brother. Read.
And went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine, and set him on his own beast, and brought him to an inn and took care of him.
That's the heavy point. That's how you know wine in those days. I looked at this before. Was so strong they used it as an antiseptic. So they used it to clean wounds because it was so strong. Or you would drink like a shot for a stomach ache. It's something to look into. Read on.
And on the morrow, when he departed, he took out 2 pence and gave them to the host and said unto him, take care of him, and whatsoever thou spendest, when I come again, I will repay thee. That's heavy, man.
Come on.
Which now of these 3 thinkest thou was neighbor unto him that fell among the thieves?
So who's the neighbor? Be honest. Do we act like neighbors? No. So how can you love yourself? Can't. Read. And he said,
verse 37, and he said, he that showed mercy on him, then said Jesus unto him, go and do thou likewise.
Go and have mercy, bro. It was just words. A lot of brothers is in back and forths and quarrels. You don't even know the elders. Never met none of them. Can't even name they real. So the goal is to go and show mercy, man. We got to have mercy to one another and have that brotherhood. Because at the end of the day, we all we got. When this nation start to fall, they might come for certain camps, but he got on fringes too. Take him. He with them. He said, Jehovah Shai, take him. He said, Most High in Christ bless. Take her. It ain't gonna matter in that day. So if it doesn't matter in that day to the heathen, why would it matter to us in this day? It's time for a changing of the mind. Psalms 133.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 133, verse 1. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, and went down to the skirts of his garments.
So how good is brotherhood? So even in Psalms, they're showing you, brotherhood is the main thing. Let brotherly love continue. That's the purpose of this lesson. Seeing all that division, seeing how they was going against the apostles, going against each other, the goal for all of us is to allow brotherhood to continue. And with brotherhood comes sisterhood. With that, I'm Captain Yaikwa.
Captain Akawasha.
Officer Sharyala.
Soldier Danyala.
And we are the sons of the Israelites. It is our heart's prayer and desire for Israel that they might be saved. Shalom, family.
Sabbath day, bring the book out, let the room get still. Ain't no hiding in opinions when the verses get real. Catch a grab one line, but a whole lie off it. So you read a little further and the whole thing fall quick. I need chapter with the verse, I need precept with the proof. Not that loud, empty talk when a man ain't got the truth. Sons of thunder in the class, and we standing on the text, line for line, bar for bar. Let the scriptures do the rest, bar for bar, line for line. Read it plain, don't twist nothing, let the verses align. Sons of thunder. When the lessons start hitting, whole room lock in. When the breakdown different, bar for bar, line for line. Every cut from the word, every truth gon' shine. Sabbath day, yeah, we came for the smoke. When the script open up, every lie get broke. Seen a lot of dudes talk like they really got sight. To the next verse hitting, now they spirit not right. Cause the truth ain't something you can bend how you please. That a humbler man, bring him straight to his knees. From the Lord of Christ, yeah, the message stay tight. Same God, same fire, same standard, same light. So don't come with your sauce, try to season what's clear. When the Most High spoke, he already made it appear. Bar for bar, line for line. Read it plain, don't twist nothing, let the verses align. Sons of thunder. When the lessons start hitting, whole room lock in. When the breakdown different, bar for bar, line for line. Every cut from the word, every truth gon' shine. Sabbath day, yeah, we came for the smoke. The script open up, every lie get broke. It's that class where your pride get dragged by the chapter, where the fake deep die and the truth come after, where the quiet cuts harder than the man yelling loud, where the words stand tall and bring the ego back down. Ain't no shame in the cut if it's making you better. Ain't no love in the lie just to keep it together. Better broken by truth than the dying delusion. Better check by the word than the living confusion. Hey, read that again. Nah. Slower this round, don't skip that part, bring the full thing out. Cause one thing about truth, they don't need your spin. When the verses link up, that's when class. So it's bar for bar, so the whole thing clear. So the young get built, and the old ones here. So the brother with doubt get strength in his chest. So the one moving proud get stripped by the text. Sons of thunder, yeah, the lesson got weight. Not a game, not a show, this is how we get straight. Sabbath day, and we staying in the script. Line for line to the whole room shift. Bar for bar, line for line. Stay in the book, and the truth gon' shine. Sabbath day, class in session. Let the word bring correction. Brotherhood, the final chamber. Brotherhood, the final chamber. Cut the price of all the anger. If we won, they can't divide us. Pressure turn a weak to diamond. Nation built, no more in danger. Same blood, same tongue, same labor. Kingdom near, how we're living. Brotherhood, the final. Yeah. I can't say I love my people if I leave my brother in a storm. That's like building with one hand while the other break the form. Had to let the mirror preach, had to let my flesh decrease. Every day I chip the stone, trying to bring the king in me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We a nation, not a moment, not a slogan, not a scene. More like branches from one root. If one dry, the whole tree lean. Yeah. And the throne feel a little closer every time we choose the right. Yeah. Every time we kill the ego, every time we guard the light. Yeah, yeah. Cause the shorties watching how we talk, watching how we take rebuke, watching if the men with knowledge really let the scriptures move. So I step like every footprint might turn into someone's path, trying to leave a trail of order, not a cloud of empty wrath. I done learned that loud correction without love just bruise a bone. But a word and wisdom hit like rain and make a desert bloom at home. Yeah, yeah. Oh, if we really want the kingdom, we can't just recite the page. We gotta wear the truth like skin and let the fruit out, live the phrase. Brotherhood, the final chamber. Yeah. Cut the price of all the anger. Yeah. If we want, they can't divide us. Pressure turn the weak to diamond. That nation built, no more in danger. Brotherhood, the final change. Yeah, Psalm 133, when brothers dwell in unity, that oil run. Yeah, like gold dripping down the garment, peace falling, heavy as the sun. Yeah, Christ said, let your light shine. City set high, don't hide the flame. So this truth can't just be thunder, it gotta glow in how we came. Yeah, iron sharpen iron, that's Proverbs, but the blade still need a hand. Cause you can forge a sword in wisdom or leave cuts you never planned. So correction gotta heal, not just prove that you was right. Like a shepherd pulling thorns out, not a wolf that love to bite. John 17, he prayed we be one, same spirit, same mind frame. So the world can see the Father through a people walking change. Yeah, that means honor for your own. That means watch how you speak down. You can't call yourself a builder if you tear the pillars down. That's like poison in the river. You're praying for the crops to grow. Like cracking your foundation and confused when walls don't hold. If we say we are the scholars and the guys the children need, then our lives should read like scrolls before they ever hear us speak. Brotherhood, the final chamber. Yeah. Cut the price of out of anger. If we want, they can't divide us. Pressure turn the weak to diamond. Nation built no more in danger. Same blood, same tongue, same labor. Kingdom near and how we living. Brotherhood, the final change. Yeah. James said faith without the works is dead. So let the movement breathe. Not just deep when we quoting, but deep in mercy when they weak. Micah said do justly, love mercy, walk humble with your God. So I'm trying to move like heaven, got his fingerprint on every scar. A little better every sunrise, like dawn crawling up the block. Not a giant leap to glory, more like chisels on a rock. Yeah, cause a nation don't get healed from men who only sound inspired. It get healed when men go home and put the truth inside the wire. Yeah. In the marriages, the children, in the way we speak at meals, in the way we treat our brothers when the wounds are still not healed. We the role models now, whether ready or not ready. So I'm praying for a spirit that is clean, firm, and steady. And it should feel unlawful in our souls to shame our own. Cause royalty don't mock its blood, it lift it back onto the throne. Kingdom ain't just clouds above us, it's Israel standing right. When the nation walk in order, that's when heaven touched the night. Brotherhood, the final chamber. Cut the price of out of anger. If we want, they can't divide us. Pressure turn the weak to diamond. Nation built no more in danger. Same blood, same tongue, same labor. Kingdom near and how we're living. Brotherhood, the final chamber.